Alright, this one's been in the works for a while and I announced it kind of a long time ago. I wanted to make a scenario that keeps the Z Fighters relevant somehow, and you guys voted on seeing it too. This one's actually going to combine a few previous scenarios. Specifically, what if Chi-Chi was a Z Fighter, what if Roshi wished for youth, and what if Piccolo got Kaioken, with a little bit of some others sprinkled in there. I wanted to buff everybody here, but not just make them Saiyans. That would be kind of boring in my eyes. This way we get to keep everyone unique and also relevant. The main goal here is to have them all keep up with Goku and whoever other Saiyans are in the cast at that point. Not that I know because I don't know how this story's gonna go. We'll be seeing that if the series continues. And, let's be honest, the more algorithm-friendly title would be what if the Z Fighters grew like Saiyans. So, I'm not sure if the video is going to be titled that or something else, but in my mind, I think the best title is what if the Z Fighters broke their limits. So, regardless of the title of the video on YouTube, that's what I'll refer to it as. Anyways, now we can begin. One of the big parts of this scenario is that we're going to have the human fighters grow like Saiyans kinda. Again, I didn't really want them to grow too much like Saiyans. Otherwise, I'd be better off doing what if the humans were Saiyans. But one trait that I do think would really help them here is if they got Zenkai boost. That allows them to keep up, but still doesn't make them too much like Saiyans. So one of the big things here is that Zenkais aren't just going to be Saiyan exclusive traits. It's going to be for any relevant fighter in the series pretty much. That doesn't just apply to protagonists, that also applies to antagonists too. We're going to have to be a bit fair after all. This scenario will buff everyone. No one is irrelevant. Well, except maybe Yajirobe, or anyone who doesn't train for that matter. There's no excuse for a fighter's weakness here besides laziness. But where did this story begin? Well, nothing's really going to change in Dragon Ball at first. Of the 4 what-ifs that I've mentioned so far, well, the Zenkais thing happens throughout the series, and we're going to say it doesn't affect Dragon Ball too much, and as for the other 3 scenarios, all of them happen after the fact. So, let's start with Chi-Chi. After the 23rd World Tournament, well, she and Goku get married, and she ends up training with him actually. Goku does want to keep up his training, obviously. I mean, he loves fighting and growing stronger. And you know what? Chi-Chi's a fighter too, so she's not necessarily opposed to this. The big difference here is that she focuses on a lot more. Yeah, of course, at some point they do have Gohan together, which does put Chi-Chi out of commission for a little bit, but she gets right back into it. She and Goku do a lot more training together, and with a great training partner like Goku, well, she's gonna grow pretty strong. We'll see that later on. But another big thing affected by this is Gohan's upbringing. He is a bit young to begin training at this point, but he does have a slightly new upbringing. Now, this doesn't mean Chi-Chi doesn't want him to study at all. She still wants him to grow up smart and prosperous. But at the same time, she'll be able to fit in some time for his training too. I mean, it's a great way for him to bond with them. And hey, if both her and Goku are fighting too, Gohan should get involved. Train a little bit. He definitely has great people around him to do so. All the while, Roshi starts thinking. He kinda wants to get more involved. He feels like his old age kinda holds him back in some fights. He still is a very admirable fighter, and he has a lot of knowledge. But imagine, if he were young again, that could be pretty great. I mean, it worked well for King Piccolo, so what if he were to do something similar? Plus, if he were younger, well, honestly, he feels he'd probably be a lot more attractive than he is now. Krillin actually thinks this would be a great idea. It would benefit both of them for their training. And honestly, he's a bachelor too. The two of them could party a bunch. So the wish benefits them in other ways as well. Roshi seeks out Shenron, wishing for youth. Meaning he's going to do a lot more training, and Krillin's going to be doing the same as well. Spending most of his time training with Roshi. But, in their free time, they do go out and party. Many years pass. Goku and Chi-Chi actually don't know of the wish. I mean, at one point they just see Shenron be summoned. They saw the sky turn dark, not really knowing who summoned him or why. Hoping it wasn't anything bad. But no Demon Kings are attacking them, so hey, maybe it's fine. They were honestly kind of concerned that Piccolo was the one who used the Dragon Balls at first. But they haven't seen much of him either. Soon enough though, there's a reunion at Kame House. And it ends up being the same crowd, except Chi-Chi's also involved. She doesn't really know Roshi too well, and maybe she could learn some things from him. Her husband and her father did train under him after all, so if they both benefited from it, maybe she could too. Same for Gohan. And Goku's glad to hear this. Yeah, it might be great to have Roshi train Gohan. Wouldn't be the first Gohan he trained. They arrive at Kame House, and they see a familiar or unfamiliar man step out at first. With Krillin and Bulma seeming completely unfazed. Well, Bulma was phased at first, and she explains. Yeah, she didn't recognize him either too. That's Roshi. Wait, what? Yeah, Roshi explains. He was the one who summoned Shenron, wishing for his youth just like King Piccolo did. The best part is, his youth is eternal. He already wasn't gonna die from old age, and now it's gonna be the same thing except he's gonna remain young forever. It's awesome. Oh, weird, but also cool at the same time. But Roshi, Krillin, and Bulma are just as confused when they see that kid with Goku and Chi-Chi. They didn't realize Goku had a son. Seems like everyone has a lot to catch up on. But amidst the talking, everyone senses a huge power nearby. A man descends from the sky above. It's Raditz. The group can immediately tell he's a threat, and everyone, besides Bulma really, stands on guard. Even Gohan, despite being a little bit nervous, gets ready for a battle just in case. Raditz explains who he is and why he's here. Also noticing that Gohan has a tail. He must be a hybrid Saiyan, the son of Kakarot. And that woman with him, that must be his wife. Kakarot's grown soft. But Raditz will be sure to fix that. He goes in to take Gohan, but the rest of the group jumps him, and he's surprised. He's actually meeting some sort of resistance. Individually, no one is nearly as strong as him, but collectively, they actually might be able to put up a challenge. So, he decides to make his escape quickly, grabbing Gohan and flying away. Goku and Chi-Chi are furious, and without even thinking, Goku calls Nimbus, with the two of them hopping on it, flying over to wherever Raditz went. Krillin tells him to wait up. By this time, he's learned to fly, and Roshi still doesn't want to learn the technique. It's a technique from the Crane School, but Krillin says to put that pride aside, it's useful, he should just learn it. But whatever, for now, he puts Roshi on his back and the two of them fly over. Bulma's a little pissed off being the only one left behind, so she gets into her ship and flies over. And from behind Kame House, someone else steps out. It's Piccolo. He already encountered Raditz, and he's been watching on. He didn't realize that the other fighters got this strong this quickly, and wonders, will they be able to take on Raditz? He might need to help them, but at the same time, he's curious to watch their performance. So he remains covert, flying low and following behind every last person in the group. He'll watch from a distance and intervene if needed, just to survey his enemies because Goku is still his enemy after all. And it seems Goku's not the only arch-nemesis. Now, his family's involved, Chi-Chi and Gohan. So let's cover some power levels a bit here, at least for everyone who's different. For Goku, we're going to place him around 450. He's been training a lot more than normal, and has a new training partner with Chi-Chi. That doesn't mean he spent all his time training. I mean, he does have a kid to raise too, and a family to help. But there definitely was more than normal. Roshi and Krillin are both at 400, with Roshi seeing an exceptional increase from becoming young again, and the two of them relatively doing the same training. Chi-Chi's not too far behind at 350, only being a little bit behind because she wasn't training as intensely as them beforehand, and she was out of commission for a bit because of Gohan. But still, 350 is very impressive. And as for Gohan, his power is at 50, at least when he's controlled. He still doesn't realize his full strength, but 50? It's pretty amazing for him who barely has any experience at this point. And Goku and Chi-Chi have noticed his incredible potential so far. As Raditz makes his escape, he notices everyone trailing behind him. Alright, looks like he's gonna have to fight. This might actually be a bit fun for him. He drops down to where his space pod is, throwing Gohan in it, and then flying right up into the air. As everyone flies towards him, Raditz sticks out two hands, launching two powerful ki blasts right at them, with everyone dodging in the nick of time, landing on the ground nearby. Raditz looks down on them, swiping his hand to the side, launching another powerful ki blast that cuts through the ground below. Aimed mainly at Goku, he jumps up, avoiding it, floating up in the air. Now, they're still at a point where flying is kind of draining for them to do, meaning Krillin's probably a little bit tired out here, and Goku's gonna use it sparingly, but he uses it to float in front of Raditz, telling him he'll give Raditz one last chance to leave, give him his son back, and go. The two of them descend downwards towards the ground, and Raditz laughs. If he wants Gohan back, he's gonna have to kill him for it. And that's definitely not the right thing to say, especially to Goku and Chi-Chi. Infuriated, Chi-Chi immediately rushes in, attacking Raditz, and Goku joins in too. They fight with perfect synergy, dishing out quick and powerful combos to Raditz. His scouter beeps, he notices their powers increasing. Okay, that's not too crazy for a Saiyan, but this human, her powers increasing seemingly from anger. The two of them each land a punch right to Raditz's gut, knocking him back. On either side of him, Krillin and Roshi run behind Raditz, and as he flies backwards, they counter with their own attack, pushing Raditz back towards Goku and Chi-Chi. Quickly, the two of them charge up a Kamehameha, with Raditz planting his feet in the ground, trying to catch himself and trying to catch the Kamehameha. And he's able to somewhat negate it, but at the same time, Goku and Chi-Chi each launch one, with Krillin and Roshi also pretty happy to hear that she knows the technique. This hits Raditz directly, leaving him vulnerable to the combo attack from Roshi and Krillin as well. There's a massive explosion from the four beams colliding, and Raditz is sent flying back right to Goku and Chi-Chi. And then something hits Goku, the tail, that's a weak point. Quickly, he grabs Raditz's tail, holding it down as he tells everyone else to attack. Raditz begs for his life, telling Goku he'll change his ways. Let him go, he's his own brother after all. And Goku hesitates for a bit, but Raditz isn't sure if that's gonna work. He sees the other three preparing to attack him as well. He's gonna need to do something and quick. If Kakarot doesn't let go of his tail right now, then he's gonna die here. Raditz shrieks as he slices his hand at his tail, seeing this is the only way to free himself. Damn it, that was painful. Now he can't transform, and doesn't have that weak point. But if he stayed there, he probably would have ended up dying. He didn't know if Goku would have let him go, and Goku can immediately see. Raditz was just lying. He immediately gets back into fighting them, and Raditz is starting to lose more ground. He's taken some damage at this point, and with Goku and Chi-Chi's anger fueling their power, not to mention the strength that they get from doing Kamehamehas, Raditz is being worn down. They could win this, they just need a little bit of an extra push, and nearby, they hear an explosion. The space pod that Gohan was trapped in is broken, and not from his anger exploding. No, he was powerful enough to just break it with his base strength, and calmly he jumps up out of the crater, watching the situation. He needs to help. He needs to get involved somehow with this fight. Maybe that way, they'll win here. And he hears Raditz telling the others too. More Saiyans are going to arrive soon. This terrifies them, and also terrifies Gohan. But he can't falter now. He has to help them out here, and he'll have to help against any other Saiyans that come to Earth too. Consider this a practice run. He tries powering up, And watching his parents be attacked like that, and the fact that he was kidnapped by Raditz too, that fuels his anger significantly. Raditz's scouter goes off. A power of 2,000? Who is that? As he's caught between combo attacks from the others, he turns his head, seeing that the scouter's picking up on Gohan's power. The last thing he sees is Gohan launching in towards him, with a massive blast coming his way, completely eradicating Raditz. The rest of the group is barely able to get out of the way, with Bulma also above watching nearby, steering the ship clear of the blast. What the hell is that? Piccolo's also nearby too, remaining covert, seeing the same thing as well. He can't believe his eyes. All that power from a kid? A massive divot is left behind, as Gohan sits there kinda confused, with the others looking over with a look of shock on their faces. Goku looks over at Chi-Chi. Did she know that he could do that? No, she was gonna ask the same thing actually. They run over to him and thankfully he's okay, with Krillin and Orochi just looking on dumbfounded. Well, he definitely takes after Goku. Bulma lands nearby, glad to see everything seemingly okay now. But once more everyone senses a huge power nearby. Well, not as big as Raditz's, but still, concerning. Piccolo lands not too far away. He's amazed that they were able to kill him, and he tells them that he encountered Raditz as well. He was going to join in here, but wanted to see if it was actually necessary first, and clearly it wasn't. But of course, with his big ears and all, he was able to overhear everything, knowing that Saiyans are going to be coming to Earth soon. This will naturally get in the way of his plans of world domination, not to mention the fact that everyone else here is so strong. He might not be able to overcome them. The group tells Piccolo they're not looking for any trouble, and he says he's not here for that. He's surprisingly offering to help here. If they're going to encounter more foes like that, especially ones that are seemingly stronger than Raditz, they're going to be his main adversaries at that point. And the group might benefit from his help. He tells them they need to train up that kid, get him to control his power. Chi-Chi starts yelling at Piccolo and he actually recoils from this. Not only because angry Chi-Chi is scary, but she might actually have a decent chance at beating Piccolo if it came down to that. Especially with the fact that apparently she has some sort of rage boost, with Piccolo seeing that during the fight. She tells him not to judge how she raises her child. Goku finds it amusing to see her standing up to Piccolo, and Piccolo tells her to stop being stupid. He's not judging how she raises him. He's saying that that power could come in handy with the Saiyans. They need to unlock it somehow. And he would offer to help, but there's no need. They were going to have Gohan train with Orochi, but now there's a change of plans. They're going to need to do a different kind of training for the Saiyans. And Goku has an idea. He says they should head to the lookout. Maybe Kami will have some sort of idea what they should do next. So they all head up there, including Piccolo too. As much as it annoys Piccolo to encounter Kami again. Krillin's able to get in contact with the other humans as well, Tenshinhan, Yamcha, and Chaozu. And seemingly, they've been keeping up with their training too. Mainly Ten and Chaozu, but Yamcha kinda has as well. Bulma's still annoyed with him at the moment, and Yamcha thinks, maybe if he could prove his strength to the others, Bulma would want him back. Krillin calls him an idiot for fumbling in the first place, but he's confident. He'll beat the Saiyans, and he'll regain Bulma's trust. Okay, well, at least he's motivated. The humans all stay up there, training with each other, while Roshi spends most of his time trying to train Gohan. Roshi's also very powerful as is, so he could spare some time. I mean, this training does help him too, especially with Gohan growing so rapidly. But it seems he would be the best option to actually get Gohan to control his power. Kami's definitely going to help as well. But what's Piccolo going to do? Well, he doesn't necessarily want to train with everyone up here. He wants to do something different. He needs to find another way to get ahead. And the best person he can consult is Kami, thinking that he might know something useful that Piccolo doesn't. And Kami actually does have one idea. He's not too sure how well it'll work, especially because of who Piccolo is after all. I mean, he's an evil guy. But he might be able to pull some strings, getting Piccolo to train with King Kai. It's not guaranteed, but he'll see what he could do. And even with the crap that Piccolo would probably give Kami at this point, he surprisingly appreciates this. They go up to King Yemma, and Kami has to kind of vouch for Piccolo. King Yemma knows he's not a great guy, but at the same time, he is training for a kind of noble cause, I guess, and Kami has to vouch a little more. Piccolo's kind of changed his ways. I mean, he hasn't tried to take over the world in a few years. That's something. Yemma says that normally he wouldn't allow this, but under the circumstances, he'll let this slide. First of all, it'll be less work for him because that'll mean the Saiyans will send less dead people up here, and Kami did vouch for him, and that definitely means something. So while everyone else trains on the lookout, Piccolo goes down Snake Way, pursuing training with King Kai. It seems everyone's going to have their own unique method of growing towards a new power, and I've already kind of alluded to it so far. I want everyone to grow in their own unique way. Tenshinhan, Yamcha, Krillin. I got plans for them. I've alluded a bit to what's going to happen with Chi-Chi, and obviously, Goku and Gohan still have their own unique ways. There's also Roshi and Chaozu, who I have plans for. And now, Piccolo's got his own path to go down. Not that he didn't already. I mean, he's the only Namekian here. But now he's got a much different turn in his story. This isn't only going to affect his power, but also his character as a whole. He's not going to be spending that year training Gohan or training with the others. He's going to be in solitude once more, gaining power for himself. 1 year has passed since Raditz's death. Everyone's been training since then. Everyone's seen some pretty great leaps in power. But there are some pretty big ones. For one, Gohan is actually getting a lot more experience fighting. He's feeling a lot more confident as a fighter, and he's controlling his power, but he still doesn't have full control. But training with his parents for this whole year, that's really helped him. Everyone else, of course, has seen an increase in power. Piccolo still is not on Earth yet. He ends up having the same issue that Goku did, and he leaves King Kai's planet a little bit late. But it shouldn't be too bad. There's a bigger group of fighters here, and it's a stronger group of fighters too. One of the other big changes is with Krillin. Roshi's been working on his full power form, trying to increase his full power actually. And at the same time, Krillin unlocked his own full power form. The height increase and muscle increase is awesome for him. I mean, he's always been a short guy, so this is awesome. And of course, this is going to be useful for combat. Tenshinhan and Yamcha are training for their own things, kinda. They have different paths as martial artists, and they wonder if maybe they'll be able to unlock some sort of form for themselves. I mean, if it's even possible for them to transform. They don't know yet, but it's definitely worth looking into. That max power thing that Roshi and Krillin have is awesome, and Goku and the Saiyans apparently had that Uzaru form. They wonder if the humans have some sort of innate transformation too, besides just that max power thing. They're not sure, but definitely something to keep in mind. Let's go over some power levels right now. Goku's at 7,000, the strongest of the group. Well, one of the strongest of the group because Roshi's at the exact same power level, 7,000, at least when he's in his full power mode. As for Krillin, he's not too far behind, 6,000 at full power. Chi-Chi's also seen a pretty great increase too. She's at a power of 4,000, with Tenshinhan being around the same. Yamcha's a little bit behind, but still at 3,000, which is very admirable. It took him a little bit to get back into training, but now he's growing a lot more rapidly. Then there's Gohan. No one knows the true extent of his power, but with his controlled power, he's at a level of 2,000. And then there's Chaozu, who's also at 2,000. Nobody knows what Piccolo's power is like yet because they haven't seen him in a year, but they're interested to see how strong he's grown. Although, that's not their main focus right now, because the time for battle has come. The group encounters Vegeta and Nappa in a wasteland, with the two Saiyans glad to see Kakarot's there, as well as his hybrid son. They're gonna give him one last chance. I mean, he could be a great replacement for Raditz after all. Consider this them being gracious, giving Kakarot a chance to survive before they kill everyone here. Goku tells them he's not concerned by their threats. They will be defeated here and now. He tells them to get off this planet, and Vegeta says very well. If that's how it's gonna be, well, a battle can then commence. Nappa starts by planting some Cybermen, expecting that they'll clean up most of the fighters here. Ten, Yamcha, and Chaozu are the ones to actually fight the Cybermen, and they do that relatively easily, with no effort at all. One of the Cybermen even jumps on Yamcha, trying to blow himself up, but before he could even do that, Yamcha's able to grab him, rip the Cyberman right off him, throwing up into the sky, jumping up and then killing him with a Wolf Fang fist. Not a scratch on him. Well, besides the ones on his face, but you know what I mean. Well, looks like these Earthlings are stronger than they expected. I mean, they did kill Raditz after all, so it's no surprise that they didn't have any trouble with the Cybermen either. But still, for those three regular Earthlings to defeat all those Cybermen at once, maybe they're underestimating the Earthlings a bit. Nappa goes in next to attack, with those same three fighters fending him off and Krillin jumping in to help. And at the same time, Roshi, Chi-Chi, and Gohan follow Goku as he goes to confront Vegeta. Goku's confident that he'll be able to defeat Vegeta, especially with the help of the people alongside him. Sure, Goku's a little bit weaker than normal. He didn't go to King Kai's planet and get that training there, and he doesn't have access to Kaioken. But still, his power is incredible. 7,000. Compared to before at least, that's way better. Not comparable to Vegeta's power, but still significant. And Vegeta notes these powers on a scouter. Collectively, that's actually a pretty strong group. And with all their powers combined, he's slightly outmatched, at least in terms of raw strength. But individually, he could defeat all of them easily. Vegeta assumes a battle stance and begins fending off against these four fighters at once. Immediately, it's clear that he has the upper hand. But again, the group still isn't worried. They can tell that the other half of the group isn't having too hard of a time with Nappa. Especially with the fact that once Krillin got involved, that tipped the scales very far. Nappa was already significantly outmatched in that battle in terms of raw power, and obviously outmatched in terms of numbers. But once Krillin joined, it kind of became overkill. Because Krillin alone here probably would have been able to contend with him actually. Not that he would know, because Nappa's defeated relatively easily. The group's about to join Goku and the others in their battle with Vegeta, leaving Nappa behind unconscious. Or, seemingly, he's laying there, injured, and he tries to launch a sneaky attack, aiming for the weakest one he could see, Chaozu. But Ten quickly is able to jump in front of the attack, launching his own in retaliation. This not only sends Nappa's blast back to him, but of course he gets hit by Ten's too, killing Nappa in the process. It's too risky to leave him out like that, so it's good that they get rid of him while they have the chance. And now the full group is fighting Vegeta together, and he's actually having some issue pushing them back. Krillin and Roshi utilize their maximum power, with everyone else at full strength too. What's worse is that they know his weak point. Of course, his tail is trained, and if they grab it, that's not going to matter to him. What does matter is if they cut the tail off, preventing him from transforming, and he knows they're aiming for that right now. They did the same with Raditz. They were monitoring the fight over the Scouters after all. Whether they knew it would prevent Raditz from transforming or not, that doesn't matter. The fact is they know to target the tail. Now, Vegeta did want to wait to do this, but he decides it's a better option to just transform into a Great Ape right now while he still can, in case he can't later on. But there is another issue too. Gohan's there. He has his tail. There'll be another Great Ape over there. But still, Vegeta could overpower everyone, even with Gohan as a Great Ape. It shouldn't be an issue. Quickly, he creates an artificial moon, throwing it up into the sky. The group has no idea of what it is, but Vegeta explains. They know about the Ozaru transformation. Luckily for him, he doesn't need an actual full moon there. The Saiyans have other ways of getting the transformation to activate. Quickly, Goku and Chi-Chi get Gohan out of there. They tell him to look away, knowing that he'll transform if he looks up there. Unfortunately, he can't fight now, so they're losing one of their fighters. But at least this way he doesn't transform and go berserk. He hides nearby and contemplates. What if they end up needing his help? Maybe he can look up at the moon, turning into a great ape himself, even if he does lose control. He keeps it in the back of his mind. And unfortunately for him, he can't watch the fight go on. He'll risk looking at the moon that way, but he tries to sense it, somewhat spectating. But then someone else arrives. A somewhat familiar face. It's Yajirobe. He's been doing a little bit of training. I mean, he's a bit lazy, so he's not too much stronger than normal. And he tells Gohan he's gonna go in there and help. And Gohan tells him, aim for Vegeta's tail, slice off, get him to de-transform. And Yajirobe's nervous to go in, but he tries to put on courageous face, pulling out his sword, jumping into the battle. But before he can even get involved, he sees a red streak of light fly by them, heading into the battlefield. The others narrowly jump out of the way, as something hits Vegeta square in the face. Too quick for them to even see. It doesn't do too much damage, but Vegeta still recoils from it. What kind of attack was that? An attack that's able to damage him as a great ape? No one should be that strong. But on one of the cliffs nearby, he sees another fighter standing there, a Namekian. The group all looks up. Piccolo's back. He apologizes for being a little bit late, but his new technique should more than make up for it. While training with King Kai, of course he wasn't able to learn the Spirit Bomb. He's not pure enough to do that. But thankfully King Kai still had a very important technique for him to learn, the Kaioken. His whole time there was spent focusing on this technique. Not to mention, Piccolo's a little bit advantaged when using this. Kaioken literally will tear your body apart. But that's okay for someone who's a Namekian and can regenerate. Of course he still has limits to using it. I mean, when he's regenerating, he's still using a lot of his stamina. But at least it's not destroying his body to use this. Because of the extra focus that he had on learning this technique, and his ability to regenerate, he's actually able to use this form at higher levels than Goku did, at least when he first got it. He tells everybody, this technique multiplies his power tenfold. With his regular power, he's at a level of 8,000, higher than anybody else in the group. With Kaioken, which he could use pretty flawlessly in short bursts, that power can go up to 80,000. Vegeta laughs, that still won't be enough. That's less than half of his power. But Piccolo tells Vegeta to not get so cocky. Who knows how far he could push the Kaioken? He's had a year with it after all. And wonders if Vegeta truly wants to test it. He powers up into ×10, jumping in at the battle as Vegeta fends off everybody else at the same time. But now with Piccolo there, he works as a really good distraction. Of course, even in ×10, he's not stronger than Vegeta, and probably not faster than Vegeta either, but this still really does help, especially since Vegeta has so many other things going on at once. He knows he has to still protect his tail, not knowing whenever anyone else can attack it. And there's still some very strategic techniques from the rest of the people in the group. All the fighters there now actually know the Solar Flare, which they could probably land on Vegeta a few times. The first time is purely out of surprise, and the other few times, it's because they have multiple people that know how to do it, making Vegeta extra cautious to try and avoid it somehow. But he can't, unless he literally just closes his eyes. That can come from any angle to blind him, and as soon as his vision restores, he can get blinded again, and again, and again, and out of anger, he charges up Ki in his fist, slamming it into the ground. The earth shakes. Plumes of lava fly out everywhere in the area. Everyone's knocked back, as Vegeta then charges a beam in his mouth, sweeping it around the area as they try to desperately dodge it. He's enraged beyond belief. All these stupid tricks they're using against him, they're not gonna work. He'll kill them here and now. He keeps slamming his fist around, shaking everything in the area, trying to get all the fighters into one space. Briefly, Piccolo flares up into Kaioken ×20. This one's a little bit more stressful, but he can still manage it a little bit. And here, his power is actually somewhat close to Vegeta. It's a perfect distraction. Krillin charges a Kienzan, flinging it right at Vegeta's tail. Vegeta jumps up in the air, knowing to expect it and dodging it relatively easily. But what he didn't account for is that there's someone else there. Just as Gohan's about to jump out and try and transform into a great ape himself, Yajirobe then jumps in. While Vegeta's midair, he goes under his radar. His power is too low for Vegeta to even notice. Not that it's incredibly low, but still, lower than the others. He's able to cleanly cut right through Vegeta's tail, with Vegeta cursing everything. Damn it, he didn't know there was someone else there. Desperately, he tries to charge one last attack as a great ape, launching a massive mouth beam, aimed right at the group, but Piccolo jumps in front of it, flaring up into ×20, effortlessly defending against it, as the power from the beam grows smaller and smaller while Vegeta also gets smaller and smaller, with Piccolo's own attack overpowering it, launching Vegeta far up into the sky. Vegeta stops himself before he flies too far. He's dead here. There's no way he's making it out, unless he figures out some way to make an escape here. Piccolo launches up towards him in Kaioken, ready to finish this and kill Vegeta with one shot. Vegeta quickly turns over to where Gohan is, launching a couple blasts at him. None of them hit, but they destroy the rocks around him, giving Gohan a clear view of the moon. Gohan then transforms, as Piccolo tries to fight Vegeta, with Vegeta desperately dodging every attack. At least that great ape distracts everybody else, and he tries to lead Piccolo towards Gohan, setting Gohan's sights on Piccolo. It ends up working, and on a whim, Vegeta launches a volley of Ki blasts everywhere, throwing up smoke in every direction. Of course they can still sense Vegeta, but he tries to lower his power, trying to do what these Earthlings can do. Piccolo has to fend off against Gohan, and Vegeta takes this as his one opportunity. He won't get another. As quickly as he can, he flies off, with his power once again flaring up, and everyone being able to sense him without needing to see him through the smoke or whatever. He's already called a space pod, with Vegeta getting inside of it midair as it launches right off into space. The cleanest escape that he could try. He did it! He made it out of here alive. Krillin's able to cut off Gohan's tail as he shrinks back down to a normal size. Vegeta hates the fact that he had to escape. It was so cowardly, but he saw no other way to survive this. He should have saw the battle through to its end, but at the same time, he still does need to be smart. And to be fair, at least to keep his pride in check, he tells himself he was at an unfair disadvantage anyways. He was fighting against that entire group alone. But still, to think that he couldn't win here, it's a huge blow to his ego, and he's pissed about it. But he's also injured and tired out. He falls into unconsciousness as the ship leads him back to the Frieza planet. Back down on the surface, everyone's a bit injured, but okay. Thankfully, no one died. Well, except Nappa. Piccolo curses it. They almost had him, but he does commend Vegeta's strategy. They thought he would just be a meathead relying on pure strength, but he seemed to have a good idea of what strategies to use in battle. Definitely a fearsome opponent. He looks over at Goku and grins. Now it's time for their rematch, and Goku laughs this off, saying he needs a little bit more time to heal first, at least to make it fair. But he tells Piccolo that new technique he has is pretty cool. Well, looks like they're going to have to prepare for Vegeta's return. He's definitely going to come back sometime soon, and who knows how strong he'll grow, especially with them knowing that Saiyans grow a lot stronger whenever they get injured, especially close to death like that. They don't know how strong Vegeta will be in their next encounter, but they need to be prepared for it. Little do they know though, Vegeta's not the main thing that they have to worry about. Vegeta eventually gets back to that Frieza planet, not even being able to get off the ship because he's unconscious. Vegeta's pulled out of the ship and placed in a healing pod, and Frieza gets word of this. Well, on one hand this is good news. 2 of the 3 Saiyans that he knows of are dead. But he does wonder, what ended up killing those other 2, and why is Vegeta so injured? What kind of planet did they go to that there was someone strong enough to fight those Saiyans? Vegeta definitely wasn't the strongest member in his crew, but he was one of the strongest. This must be a pretty strong planet if they're able to fend off against Vegeta. And that means it must be a pretty valuable planet too. He could possibly send his troops there. I mean, he knows nothing about this planet. He's gonna have to look into it a bit first. But there's potential for profit here. And who knows, maybe he could send Vegeta back, and they'll finish the job, killing Vegeta. No more Saiyans, and he gets a valuable planet in the process. Thankfully, nobody here knows about the Dragon Balls. Not Vegeta, not Frieza, no one. Their sights are set on Earth though, not because of the Dragon Balls, but because it's potentially pretty valuable. And Frieza begins contemplating, what should his next move be? And should he have Vegeta involved at all? There's something that Vegeta's probably hiding from him. He didn't consider that either. Why did the Saiyans make 2 separate trips to this planet? Raditz dying in the first trip? That might have just been some random freak occurrence. Why did Vegeta and Nappa head there? Vengeance for Raditz? That doesn't seem likely. Did they do it out of pride to finish the job? Well, if they're just trying to win against the entire planet itself, they could have just blown it up. Maybe they were preserving it because it was valuable. Or maybe there was someone there that they were going after. It wasn't the planet itself, and Frieza's beginning to piece everything together. How did the Saiyans know of this planet in the first place? Why did they go there? And why did they get beat up so badly? All these thoughts are rushing through his mind. This is definitely something he should check out. Immediately after Vegeta departs, the group needs to figure out what to do next, and Piccolo has the perfect idea. If they really want to get strong, they should head to King Kai's planet for gravity training. That did wonders for him, and he's sure everyone else will benefit from it too. Vegeta definitely will be back, probably stronger than before thanks to the Zenkais that he gets. Next time they're gonna have to find a way to finish it instantly, and they were almost able to do that here, but if they just had a little bit more power, then they'd be able to do that easily. Goku looks forward to fighting him again too. And this King Kai guy sounds pretty cool. I mean, look at what he did for Piccolo. Piccolo's like the strongest of the group now. It's awesome. Bulma eventually gets word of this too, and decides that maybe it's not best that they go to King Kai's planet. She could do something even better. What if she made a room where gravity could be adjusted to whatever level they want? Not just 10 times Earth gravity, but even up to 100, 300, whatever. They can continuously increase it. And they trust her to find this out. They know she's definitely capable of doing so. And she ends up building a gravity chamber. So instead of everyone going to King Kai's planet, they decide to train here. Honestly, it's probably for the better. King Kai's been watching, and he didn't really want that many people on his planet. It could have been fun, but for such a small planet, he can't have a bunch of people on there. They could try and learn the Kaioken later. And as for Piccolo, he'll just continue practicing with it. Now with this gravity room built by Bulma and her dad, everyone's got the perfect way to train. Yamcha also continues to try and reconcile with Bulma as well. The best part is he's actually still alive after the Saiyan saga. And whenever they're gravity training, they're near Capsule Corp anyways. Yamcha probably even goes to Krillin for advice. Not the best person for that, but Krillin supports his friend. Not like anyone else would have great advice for him. And this is actually pretty important because remember, this was one of the main factors to motivate Yamcha's training. Not too noble of a reason, but doing that to impress Bulma, hey, at least it's something. Some time passes. Vegeta's still healing, and Frieza looks more into Earth, trying to figure out what this planet was that Vegeta went to, and more importantly, why only one of them came back. Some scouts are sent around the planet too, and they notice there's some fluctuating powers. Most of the population seems to have really low powers, but occasionally their scouters will pick up on some other powers, and they rapidly fluctuate. A normal power could suddenly shoot up to about 10,000, and then right back down. There's others that are fluctuating within the thousands range, and then going up into the tens of thousands range. There's even one that hits 6 figures pretty early on. They think their scouters are malfunctioning, but Frieza says that's probably not the case. He definitely wants to continue looking into this, and they need to examine this planet more closely. Piccolo's out in a wasteland one day. He needs some more open room to practice with Kaioken, and thankfully Ten and Yamcha are here too to help him with that. Wanting to spar with Piccolo in order to face him at his full strength, and they notice some sort of strong power nearby. Not particularly strong, but way stronger than anyone they've sensed on Earth. Probably only a couple hundred or a couple thousand. There's a few of them, some scouts that are here. Crap, they're noticed. How did the scouts get noticed? These guys don't have scouters. There's no way they'd be able to detect them. But the scouts are pretty intrigued because it seems like there's aliens here. Look at Piccolo, that Namekian. Frieza wonders if there's any other aliens there. More scouts are sent on Earth to get a closer look. These scouts that are spotted get eliminated instantly, and the entire battle is transmitted back to Frieza. They're able to manipulate their powers at will. These scouts were no match for them. Even one of them individually could have wiped out multiple scouts at once. But one of the scouts details something that seems pretty interesting. An Earthling that looks very familiar. Or maybe it isn't an Earthling. He can't really tell, but Frieza gets a closer look, and he sees exactly what's happening here. That isn't an Earthling. He racks his brain. He kind of recognized this guy. That hairstyle. That's a Saiyan. There's no doubt. He looks just like that one that rebelled so long ago. And then it all makes sense. That's why Vegeta went there. This Saiyan resembling that other Saiyan. Maybe they're related. Or maybe this Saiyan was actually related to one of the others in his crew. This is why Raditz, Nappa, and Vegeta all went there. But he wonders if this is worth his time. He doesn't necessarily know of anything valuable on Earth, but the powers do concern him. A Saiyan growing that strong, especially because it looks like he has a kid too. They're procreating. More Saiyans maybe. This angers him to no end. He thought he wiped out all the Saiyans so long ago, but no. There's a survivor out there. I mean, he knew about Vegeta, but at least Vegeta, he can keep under his control. This Saiyan, he knows nothing about him. He needs to fix this issue before it becomes an issue. Vegeta is of course completely left in the dark. At some point he does fully heal, and he starts training again, preparing to head back to Earth on his own. Some other Frieza soldiers are making some really weird remarks to him, like they know about something that he doesn't, or rather, they know that Vegeta knows something that they don't. And Vegeta's getting a little suspicious. Frieza slowly starts moving out the army. He doesn't want Vegeta to know at all. Actually, Frieza does give Vegeta a mission. Frieza was going to have the Ginyu Force go to some other planet, but he actually needs the Ginyu Force with him. Instead, Vegeta could go to this place. It's some weird planet called Yardrat. He'll be able to handle it himself. Let's get into some power levels right now. Piccolo's at a power of about 50,000, but what's most interesting is that he's practiced more with Kaioken, getting it up to even times 40 by now. Goku was actually able to use times 20 by the time he was on Namek, and like I mentioned before, Piccolo could handle Kaioken better thanks to him having regeneration, so it's not unrealistic to assume that by this point he'd have an even higher level of Kaioken. And by training at these higher levels as well, it does help him grow faster. Roshi's actually not too far behind Piccolo's base power. At full strength, Roshi's at 45k. He wants to remain ahead of his students, Krillin and Goku, who are both at 40,000. He tells them he still has some tricks up his sleeve, and as their master, he does need to have a higher power than them, in order to push them to their absolute limits. Chi-Chi's not too far behind, at 35,000, with Tenshinhan and Yamcha also at the same power. Surprisingly enough, Gohan's at 30,000, at least when he's controlled. They don't know the extent of his full power, with him still not having controlled it fully. And even Chaozu's at a pretty high level, 30,000 as well. Although, unlike Gohan, this is his actual limit. And Yajirobe comes in and out, but he's still Yajirobe and probably still a little bit too lazy. We'll be generous. Let's put him at 5,000, I guess. More of the Frieza Force descends on the planet soon enough. The group already expected some sort of alien invasion after seeing all those scouts, but they don't know who this is. I mean, they're wearing those same scouters that the Saiyans had, so it must be related. They do remember hearing from Raditz and even Vegeta that there was some Frieza guy out there. It must be him. Zarbon and Dodoria are the first to arrive, and just as they do, they're immediately eliminated, with a bunch of soldiers following it. Great, looks like they have to fight these guys now. It's just waves of random soldiers that they have to defeat, which isn't too tough, but still, it's annoying that they have all these people here on Earth. Especially because some of them do need to end up spreading out actually, with certain Frieza Force soldiers trying to attack cities and whatnot, seeing if they could find anything valuable. Frieza watches from above. He still doesn't want to get his hands dirty, but he knows exactly who to send in. They're already with him. It's why he sent Vegeta to Yardrat after all. The Ginyu Force is here. He didn't really want to resort to them this soon, but they should be able to handle this. He knew that the Earthlings would probably be a little bit stronger than he expected, but not this much. Defeating his army that quickly? It's interesting. So, the Ginyu Force are sent in, on a new special mission to eliminate these fighters. All the Frieza soldiers stop coming in, but the group sees 5 space pods heading down. Everyone flies over to where they're gonna land, grouping together once more. Bulma even flies over too, curious as to what's going on. She was told it's dangerous, but she honestly doesn't care. She wants to see if she could scavenge any tech from the army. Also, she might be able to gather some Dragon Balls if needed, because there is a lot of needless destruction here. The group is protecting Earth, trying to keep casualties to a minimum, but they can't protect everything. And they're furious about that. Having this whole army here against them is not fair. But now things have calmed down. There's only these 5 soldiers left. But from what they could sense, they seem pretty powerful. So maybe this is the real deal. The Ginyu Force steps off their ships, striking a pose. And immediately, they get down to business. And Ginyu could tell from their powers, he has no need to swap bodies because everyone's weaker than him anyways. Except for one guy, that Namekian. His power briefly flares up at some points, even going past 1 million, 2 million even. It's very brief, but still, that's worth noting. Maybe he could steal that guy's body, ending this fight quickly. Right now the battle's not too tough, but this will just make the battle even easier. And he's able to use his trump card, swapping bodies with Piccolo without anybody knowing, at least not at first. And once he's in Piccolo's body, he realizes he's actually weaker now. Not only can't he tap into Piccolo's full base power, but he can't use Kaioken. And Piccolo's confused at first, but laughs. Seems like Ginyu played himself. He might have Piccolo's body, but he doesn't have Piccolo's power. Not at all. And he tells everyone, Ginyu probably doesn't know how to regenerate either. So he tells everybody, hold nothing back, just don't kill him. But any injuries, it doesn't matter. And Ginyu wonders why they're doing this. They completely overwhelm Ginyu in Piccolo's body. And Piccolo's right. Ginyu doesn't even know about the regeneration or how to use it. He takes a lot of damage in the battle, and he realizes he needs to jump to another body right now. This was actually a terrible maneuver. At least the rest of the Ginyu Force is able to keep up, but now, Ginyu's being beaten up. He sets his sights on Roshi next. Maybe he could take his body. So quickly, he tries to swap with Roshi. And Roshi quickly vanishes as the beam flies far away, completely missing Roshi. But Roshi then grabs onto Ginyu's body, flinging it far into the distance, trying to make it hit that beam. And it works. The two swap bodies again, with Piccolo back in his original body, instantly trying to regenerate any damage. He still is a little bit worn out, but at least he's not bleeding out like that body. Piccolo quickly launches a blast in the distance, which hits Ginyu head on, destroying him instantly. The rest of the Ginyu Force continues to fight, and honestly it's not too bad. There's only the 4 of them and they are powerful, but the group is able to actually hold them off pretty well. Golo's the most annoying, being able to stop time by stopping his breath. They try to attack him, but the rest of the Ginyu Force defends him, knowing that he's their most valuable asset right now, funnily enough. But out of nowhere, Golo randomly explodes, and the group senses another high power. Vegeta's there, furious. They didn't even see his ship get here, and he's absolutely livid right now. He knew Frieza was trying to pull something on him. Once he assigned him on that weird mission to Yardrat, he knew something was up. He'll head to that planet later on. Seems like he could probably learn something useful there, but he didn't stay on Yardrat to fight. The second he got there, he saw that all the Frieza troops are heading towards Earth. They wanted to get Vegeta away before moving in. Frieza knew this detour for Vegeta wouldn't work for too long, but it would at least hold him off. And he's amazed that everyone defeated the Ginyu Force. The group's ready to fight Vegeta too, and he's ready to fight them. Now with Frieza's army gone, it seems like there's nobody to fight here, except for one person, Frieza himself. He descends on the planet. A little bit ticked off, but not really too surprised. Impressive. He honestly thought the Ginyu Force would kill everybody, but that idiot Ginyu had to try and swap bodies with Piccolo, not realizing that Kaioken was an innate power of his. Everyone tries to attack Frieza at once, but he just stands there taking it. Nothing hurts him, at least not at first. Piccolo goes into Kaioken times 40, and he's able to significantly injure Frieza too. Why is this Namekian so powerful? He transforms into his second form. It's still not enough. Piccolo can use times 40 pretty easily, and actually, he tries to push it higher during battle, to times 50, maybe even a little bit more. Kaioken still does drain his stamina. Even though he can mitigate it tearing his body apart, he still can't mitigate the fact that regeneration takes some stamina to do. He still has to kind of use it sparingly. Piccolo tries to finish this as quickly as possible. Even though Frieza transformed, he still has an opening, and Vegeta just watches on dumbfounded. Frieza transformed and he's never seen this before, and even with that, Piccolo is still able to be ahead of him. Piccolo launches a full power blast at Frieza, trying to kill him right here and now. But the second it's about to hit, Frieza powers up once more, not even going to his third form, immediately going into his final form. The blast hits him. It does absolutely no damage. And any damage he took before, that's gone. He seems perfectly fine now. The group could sense Frieza's power. This is way too much. Nobody's gonna be able to handle this. Frieza smirks as Piccolo tries to attack him, then swiping his arm, chopping Piccolo's arm off without any effort at all. He then launches a death beam, with Piccolo barely being able to move out of the way. Immediately, he turns his attention over to the rest of the group, seeing the Saiyans there, specifically Goku. That's the one he wanted to get rid of, so he might as well do it while he still can. He points at Goku, launching a death beam right at him. Yamcha's able to barely push Goku out of the way, being hit by the death beam himself. Frieza chuckles at this. Fine, he'll just have a double kill then. He then points another finger at Goku, then being able to successfully hit him. Yamcha and Goku are on the ground critically injured. Frieza looks over at Gohan, about to launch a beam at him, but then getting punched right in the face by Chi-Chi, who heads right in with a huge rage boost, with the group noting that her power is increased. Gohan feels enraged too, jumping in fighting with her. Yamcha and Goku are writhing on the ground in pain, but Krillin comes over. They have a few Senzu beans at least, although not too many, but he gives one to each of them, with them healing fully, getting a huge boost in power. What the hell is this? Is this from them nearly dying? This power might help them. Their strength jumps significantly. Frieza is able to easily ward off Chi-Chi and Gohan. He delivers a swift punch to Gohan, hitting him right in the chest, and as he flies back towards the group, Frieza launches another death beam at him. And much to his surprise, Goku and Yamcha jump back in the fight. And after attacking Gohan just now, Goku's beyond furious, same for Chi-Chi. The two fight together, with Piccolo and Yamcha at their side. Chi-Chi's strength is growing too. With her rage, she's surprisingly growing even stronger, and the only thing keeping Goku sane right now is the fact that they know that there's Senzu beans for Gohan. And Krillin's able to give him one. Gohan then jumps back into the battle too, and Frieza's confused. How are they getting back up from this? They seem completely healed and stronger than before. They're healing somehow, but how is that even possible? Frieza screams, with a massive explosion around him that sends everyone flying back. His eyes dart around, and he sees something interesting in the distance. A spaceship. And Goku notices Frieza's eyes lock onto it, and Frieza smiles. Maybe that's their healer, or one of their allies. And Goku yells out to Frieza, telling him not to do that. That's not a fighter, she's not involved at all. Yamcha's furious too, telling Frieza to stop it, and Frieza laughs. They seem upset. Piccolo powers up, yelling Kaioken times 100, launching right into Frieza, and just as he does, Frieza's hand pierces right through his chest, and he won't let this Namekian regenerate. Piccolo falls to the ground, with Frieza launching a point-blank blast at his head, brutally killing Piccolo. He chuckles. There goes their strongest fighter, and now, here goes their healer. Bulma's watching from afar and sees Frieza looking at her. Quickly she tries to fly the ship away, but then sees a light heading towards her, and the group watches from a distance as her ship explodes. Frieza chuckles, looking down at the ground at Piccolo's mutilated body. Looks like they all failed here, and Frieza asks, who wants to be next to die? Vegeta could be fun, or that other Saiyan, maybe his brat. He didn't succeed in killing them before, but now without their healer, or presumably their healer, he can kill them easily. Roshi, Krillin, Tenshinhan, and Gohan all power up, ready to fight instantly. Chi-Chi tries to keep Gohan back so he doesn't get killed, but right now, after being healed, he's actually one of the strongest people here. And she's furious too, but nervous, as is everybody else. And for some reason, Vegeta feels stunned. He doesn't know what to do. Goku and Yamcha decide to fly over to Bulma's ship, seeing if she's okay at all, but when they get there, there's nothing left. Goku and Yamcha frantically search. This is one of Goku's closest friends, and for Yamcha, also one of his friends that he's known for so long, and now his lover. Goku is already furious beyond belief, but Frieza does one more thing to push Goku over the edge. Goku senses a power disappear. It's Roshi's. Back at the scene of the battle, Roshi's in his full power, and Frieza attacks him, being the biggest target here. Roshi falls to the ground next, but Frieza's then blinded by a light in front of him, and he also notices one in the distance too. Gohan starts glowing. His teacher, he's gone. His family, they're threatened here. His friends too. He absolutely loses it, with his hair glowing golden as he transforms into his Super Saiyan. And that same golden light is in the distance too. Watching Gohan and Chi-Chi be hurt like that, also seeing Piccolo and Bulma die, that already sent Goku over the edge, and Roshi's death made him even more furious. A golden light launches in, as Goku then stands next to Gohan surprised. The two look at each other. They both transformed, and Frieza recoils in fear. Are those Super Saiyans? Vegeta can't believe what he's seeing, but at the same time, an ominous dark aura emanates from where Bulma's ship exploded. Someone else runs over, on all fours actually, and Frieza can't even react. Before he could even see who's attacking, he's already being hit by a bunch of attacks, being slashed by claws it feels like. Out of fear, he jumps back. Two Super Saiyans and then somebody else. He doesn't recognize this fighter, he looks completely different. It's Yamcha. He's transformed, almost looking like a wolf, transforming out of anger just like the Saiyans. Yamcha stands beside Goku and Gohan, in this new form that we'll call Alpha Yamcha. Krillin's back in full power, standing alongside the group too, exploding with rage at Roshi's death. A giant Hulk and Krillin stands behind them, with Ten, Chi-Chi, and Vegeta standing back. But even though Chi-Chi knows she can't hurt Frieza, she can't just sit here. Her rage flares up again, and she yells out at Goku and Gohan to kill that bastard, and Ten cheers on too. Let's finish this here and now. Vegeta watches on. He can't believe his eyes. Super Saiyans. That Earthling, he transformed too. Maybe they actually have a chance here. Empowered by their transformations, empowered by their rage, and with Goku, Yamcha, and Gohan being empowered by Zenkais too, as well as the rest of the group being there too, ready to help. But Frieza might still be able to overcome them. Frieza can't believe his eyes. The group is completely reinvigorated. Yamcha, Goku, and Gohan have seen the greatest increase in power, with Goku and Yamcha benefiting from a huge Zenkai, and Gohan benefiting from a rage boost as well. Surprisingly enough, they're all pretty much on equal footing. The three start attacking Frieza in unison, with the rest of the group backing them up. Yamcha charges in with powerful melee attacks, now having even grown claws, but he mixes them in with his normal moves as well. He moves a lot faster than before, a lot more animalistic. It makes it harder for Frieza to keep track of him as he runs around, on top of the fact that Goku and Gohan are fighting him as well. Of course, Gohan's not experienced like Goku, but he's still a pretty good fighter at this point in the story, and he could barely control the power that he has, which doesn't really matter because that means he's using it at 100%. Frieza needs to stop this now. He can't hold back any longer. He decides he's going to bring out his 100% power. He barely has an opportunity to transform, but he's given a brief opening, one that allows him to power up just enough, bulking up considerably, ready to continue this battle, and now they should be on even footing, the three of them versus Frieza. But Frieza's actually being worn out now. especially from those attacks he just took. They could tell. He's becoming desperate. He's acting like he's cornered. He tries fighting back, but now it's a lot tougher. He doesn't have the huge advantage that he did before. He can't be cocky like before. And he did this to himself. He created not one, but 2 Super Saiyans, as well as whatever Yamcha is right now. He didn't even realize these Earthlings could transform, much less a Saiyan transforming beyond a grade 8. He needs to kill them, for good, and he knows just the way to do that. As they fight mid-air, Frieza sticks a hand out, pointing it towards the ground. Quickly he charges a large ball of energy, launching it right towards the surface. As fast as they can, Goku, Gohan, and Yamcha all fly down, trying to push the attack back. Obviously seeing that Frieza's trying to blow up Earth, he adds more power to the attack, continuing to push it forward, laughing as he does so. He'll destroy them and this pesky planet. No one will stand in his way. But he sees only 3 of them defending against the attack, and he doesn't even notice. Krillin's missing, and by the time he notices, it's already too late. He feels a sharp pain in his side. A Kienzan hits him. It doesn't cut clean through, but it does cut partially through. He grabs his side in pain, losing sight of the attack that he was powering and having it flung right back towards him. He stands there, bloodied and beaten, hurt by his own attack. He's fuming with anger, and he turns right towards Krillin, launching at him. Krillin quickly jumps up, and right behind him, Frieza sees Tenshinhan. Frieza sharply maneuvers away trying to get Krillin, but Krillin was just a distraction. Krillin launches a solar flare, blinding Frieza, as he's then spaghettified, stretched out with an ominous green aura around him. As Krillin yells now, Goku wonders what they're doing, but then he sees what's in front of Ten. There's a small container. He's using the Mafuba. Goku tells him to stop. It's gonna kill him, especially with that much power being used. But it's already too late. Ten performs the attack, flinging his hands down as Frieza's thrown into the container. While breathing heavily, he puts a seal on it. He tells them, now, destroy it. He flicks it up into the air. Goku, Gohan, and Yamcha all lock their eyes in it, and simultaneously, they perform a Kamehameha. With Frieza being weakened beforehand, and now weakened even further by being sealed, this is the perfect opportunity. Their attacks collide with the container, completely disintegrating it, killing Frieza inside as well. Ten smiles. He wishes he could have done more to help. And then he falls to the ground. Yamcha rushes over and so does Chaozu. They try to give him energy, trying to revive him in any way they can, but it's already too late. He used up too much energy with this attack. Unlike when he used it before, this required way more power. And after already fighting Frieza, it's not like he was in a great condition to begin with. His energy then slowly fades away, as he's the next to die. Yamcha's aura grows fiercer and flares up. His girlfriend, one of his closest friends, his teacher, and even Piccolo, who he wasn't close with but still another one of his friends, all gone. He yells out, with Goku feeling the same exact way. Yamcha's power increases even further, as then he passes out, going back into his base form, falling to the ground alongside Ten. Goku calms himself, trying to power down as he goes into his base again, and Gohan's clearly still enraged. He's having trouble doing so. He and Goku fly over to Chi-Chi, and they have to try to console Gohan. Goku holds his family close as he looks over at the rest of the group, beaten and bloodied, missing a few people, and his eyes then connect with Vegeta's. Vegeta can't believe what he just saw. Everything about it. It's unfathomable. Goku tells everyone, Roshi died twice. He can't be brought back. And he also just realized too, now that he's calmed down, he's been thinking through this. And the Dragon Balls are gone too, since Piccolo died. Which also means Kami is dead as well. They've lost more than they thought, and these losses might be permanent. Tenshinhan, Bulma, Piccolo, Roshi, Kami, they're gone. What are they supposed to do now? And Vegeta's shocked to hear about this. The Dragon Balls? Like those wish orbs that are rumored to exist? Well, they don't anymore. But that's interesting, that they're out there and they could be used to revive people maybe. He doesn't know what else they could do, if anything, but he knows for a fact they can revive people from this. And from the way they're describing it, it sounds like they can only do that. Not that it matters now. Vegeta can't even seek them out anyways. Even if they were still active too, Vegeta would have no chance at getting them. The group now has to figure out what to do next. Because it's not just all that, but also Vegeta's here too, which could be a problem. Remember, Vegeta initially came here to try and kill everybody. He was not here to help. We go over to Otherworld. Piccolo returns to King Kai, a little bit saddened to be here under these conditions. But also, he's a bit shocked to be in Otherworld too. King Kai tells Piccolo, he's turned over a new leaf, of course he'd be considered good now. And look at how he died too. He died actually helping defend Earth. And King Kai said he put in a good word for Piccolo. Well, Piccolo thanks King Kai. He's not sure how long he'll be here, and it might be permanent if anything. Once again, he's alone, separated from everyone. He's angry that his training wasn't enough. But King Kai tells him to consider his growth, how much he's grown in strength. And he did put up a really good fight against Frieza too. All that matters is that Earth is safe now, and Piccolo did contribute to that. King Kai then makes a confused face. Oh, looks like he's getting some other visitors too. And Piccolo's confused. Wait, who else died? King Kai fills Piccolo in. Piccolo knows that Kami would have died as well. But he hears that Bulma, Ten, and Roshi died too, with Ten and Roshi then appearing on the planet as well. Even Roshi's surprised to see Ten because he died beforehand. And Ten explains what happened. Roshi tells Ten that the Mafuba was a dangerous technique, and even with his strength, it's no wonder that using on Frieza was that draining. And Ten knew the risk. He's used it before and it took so much out of him. especially with how much of his power he had to put into it this time, and he knows what it did to Roshi before as well. Well, Roshi's glad that he at least knew the risk, and he's proud of Ten for that sacrifice. Soon enough, too, Kami shows up on the planet. Not to train, of course, but to see everybody. Piccolo and Kami already realized this, but the other two are now just realizing they're not going to be coming back. They're dead for good, aren't they? Well, Roshi says even if the Dragon Balls were there, he can't be revived again. He kinda knew that the second he got here. Well, it's probably not too bad being in Otherworld. At least they made it here after all, not hell, so if they gotta spend eternity here, well, whatever, they're just gonna have to deal with it. But King Kai says that doesn't necessarily need to be the case. He tells Piccolo and Kami, they do know about their history, right? Well, it's spotty. And they heard Frieza and Vegeta mentioning something about them being Namekians or whatever, so that's really the extent of their knowledge. King Kai says that if they do want to come back to life, maybe there is a way. Maybe some other Namekians might be able to help. There definitely are more Dragon Balls out there. Wait, what? There's other Dragon Balls out there? Yeah, of course, and King Kai would be glad to help them find them. Well, not them, but the Earthlings, the ones that are still alive. In other circumstances, he wouldn't really want to get involved, but here, because they did defeat Frieza, who is such a player in the universe, he says he could help them with a favor. King Kai gets in contact with the Earthlings. They hear this weird voice in their heads, but they have no clue who it is, and he introduces himself to those who don't know him. And surprisingly enough, they all hear other voices. Piccolo, Ten, Roshi, even Kami. They're all there on this planet too. Bulma's in Otherworld, but not on this planet. Although King Kai says he's sure she's doing fine as well. He tells them not only are their friends okay, but they can come back. There's another set of Dragon Balls out there. Well, most likely. On Namek. There's a wish-granting dragon there as well. And it's no guarantee, but he could point them in the right direction. There is a little bit of an issue though. Normally they'd have someone like Bulma make them a ship, but she's of course not around. But with Dr. Brief's help, that could actually work. Plus, there are still some Frieza ships scattered around. He could probably modify those and get them to travel to Namek. Even better, he decides to install a gravity chamber on one of them. Thanks to this help from King Kai, they're pointed in the right direction and end up going to Namek. But it's not going to be too quick of a journey, and it's going to take a little bit. Thankfully, they could spend some time training on the way there. Not that they're really training for anything, but it's just a good way to kill time. Back on King Kai's planet, Ten's feeling a little bit left behind. He watches on. Roshi tries to learn Kaioken for himself, even though it doesn't really suit him like Piccolo. Ten does train here with King Kai, but opts out of learning Kaioken. It seems like it'll be too tough to try. For Roshi, he handles it surprisingly well. Due to his mastery of Ki and his mastery of martial arts, he's able to maintain a nice balance with it. He doesn't overdo it, and aims to improve this. He can think of a few ways to get this to grow even further, and Ten wonders where he can go next. He saw Yamcha's new form, and he sees that Roshi's doing this awesome technique right here, and it gets Ten thinking, maybe he doesn't need to learn that technique. Yeah, Kaioken's cool and all, but he doesn't necessarily need it. Hell, he doesn't even really need that full power form that Roshi and Krillin have. He starts focusing on something else. Instead of spending time trying to learn Kaioken, he's racking his brain, trying to think of all the ways he can grow. It's not going to be a quick process, but he starts going in the right direction, now with this newfound motivation. And also, there's stuff beyond King Kai. He can go around Otherworld, learning techniques from all these other great warriors up here. Learn all these insane abilities from millions and millions of years of warriors. He sees a lot of opportunity up here. Eventually, the group does arrive on Namek, and thankfully this time, it's very peaceful. It's not like the Frieza Force is going to be there, most of them are gone anyways. The group gets into contact with some Namekians, and the Namekians are quickly able to tell. This group isn't here with any threats. Well, maybe Vegeta is. He was dragged along just so everyone can keep an eye on him. And also, he wanted to see how these revival wishes work. He doesn't know if they could do anything else, but still, if they could revive people, there's potential there for him to use them somehow. The Namekians help point the group into the right place, seeing what they're trying to do. They're led to Grand Elder Guru, and he decides, yeah, they're worthy for the Dragon Balls. He asks Goku to step up, reading his mind, seeing what just went down. And he sees everything they went through, and what they prevented. They stopped Frieza. And Guru says there's no question about it. They should be granted the Dragon Balls. They are making a pretty noble wish after all, reviving their friends. And these wishes are going to be used to save Earth too, because once Piccolo's back, they'll have the Earth Dragon Balls there as well. The Dragon Balls are all gathered, and they summon Porunga, giving him 3 wishes. First, revive Piccolo. Then, revive Roshi. He can't be revived by Earth Dragon Balls anyway, so that needs to be done here. And for the third one, they decide to revive Bulma. And Ten actually tells them he wants to be revived last. He wants to spend a little bit more time up here, so the other 3, they can go before him. He'll come back from Shenron once they're back on Earth. And Kami's intrigued to see how this dragon works, wondering if he should update Earth's Dragon Balls as well. The group thanks the Namekians, and they're glad to help, especially after what the group did, and the fact that they're reviving one of their own, they don't mind. But just as the group's about to leave, a ship starts approaching Namek. They can sense a pretty strong power on it. Great, what's left of the Frieza Force? And Vegeta can immediately tell. He completely forgot. King Cold is still out there. King Cold? Who the hell is that? Well, it's Frieza's father. And it seems he probably knew where to find their ship. I mean, they are using a modified Frieza ship after all. Maybe he was able to track it some way like that, or maybe he was following them this whole time. Vegeta doesn't know. Alright, well, Goku asks Vegeta, how strong is King Cold? Vegeta has no clue. Well, either way, they'll be able to solve this. King Cold lands on the planet, and they decide they're going to take a no-nonsense approach to this. King Cold steps off the ship, greeting everybody. There's a few Frieza Force soldiers with him. It seems most of the army's gone, and he tells them, somebody's going to need to fix this. His son is gone, most of his army's gone, and he wanted to find who's responsible. It seems they were led here, and from space they saw some sort of dragon or something. And King Cold wants to know, what's going on here? He'll find that out and then just slaughter everyone responsible. But no one even responds to him. Goku and Gohan immediately power up, surrounded by a golden aura going into Super Saiyan, with King Cold being taken aback, even stumbling backwards. Super Saiyans? Alongside them, Yamcha powers up into his alpha form, howling just like a wolf as he transforms. The three of them all attack in unison, with the Namekians watching on amazed. And before King Cold can even do anything, he's immediately defeated, with Goku, Gohan, and Yamcha all powering down. Apologizing to the Namekians, they didn't realize that they would lead somebody else here like that. Well, the Namekians say that's probably better that way then. Nobody even thought to eliminate King Cold, but now he's gone and they don't have to worry about him, I guess. Vegeta just stands there with his jaw hitting the ground. That easily they defeated King Cold. He knew they defeated Frieza already, but this is just something else. They're already starting to learn how to use these forms and growing more powerful in them. It's amazing. The group all thanks the Namekians once again, as everyone goes back to Earth. And as Ten waits to be revived, he stays in Otherworld a bit longer. He's not even with King Kai at the moment. He's going around, meeting other warriors around here, trying to learn any unique techniques from them or whatever, training with all these great people, getting knowledge from them. He sees all these alien warrior races. He sees powerful Earthlings from the past, even some of his ancestors too. There's so much knowledge that could be gained here, so much of it that was lost to time, and now he can go right to the sources themselves. His mind is absolutely blown by this. And he's glad he didn't spend his time learning Kaioken. Yeah, the technique seems cool and all, but look at what he's doing here. All this knowledge he's gained. And he tries to piece everything together, thinking about how he can grow, what he could do. The group eventually arrives back to Earth, but just as they do, they receive a message from King Kai. He says to wait to revive Ten. They don't really need to revive him immediately, and this is his request, not King Kai's. Well, if he wants to wait, that's fine with them, I guess. King Kai says he's having a lot of fun here. Ten's been training and learning non-stop, and he wonders what he's up to. Well, at least they have all their friends back, and Ten will come back soon enough. Even though all seem lost against Frieza, they're able to recuperate. But what lies ahead for everybody? Now that he's back on Earth, Kami looks more at the Dragon Balls, wondering if he could change them somehow. Everyone here has grown stronger, surpassed him. People who were formerly students are now way above him, and it makes him think to himself. He hasn't really changed much. As the Guardian of Earth, there could be better ways for him to protect it. He does want to upgrade the Dragon Balls, but even if he does try to upgrade them, Shenron really can't surpass his power. Kami thinks to himself, he needs to be stronger too, just like the other warriors. If he wants to be an effective Guardian, he wants the powers to back it up. Even though he's not necessarily a fighter, he still does want that power. I mean, even look at his other half, Piccolo, how strong he's gotten. Kami may not be a warrior like Piccolo is, but that doesn't mean he's weak, and that doesn't mean he has no potential to grow stronger. And he actually has the perfect idea of what to do. Months and months pass. During this little time skip, we see a few different things. Ten still stays in Otherworld, continuously training there, learning as many new techniques and abilities as he can. He does pick up on a few interesting things, but probably the most important part is that he grows stronger in general. He could train there non-stop. It's amazing, and there's so many ways for him to train, so many people he could spar with, so many great masters. There's infinite teachings available here. It is Otherworld after all. You're there for eternity, as long as you're not being brought back by the Dragon Balls, that is. So it makes sense that there's so much knowledge for him to look at. He even ends up meeting a pretty interesting training partner named Pikkon, who we may be seeing more of later. But at some point, he decides he does need to go back. He could stay here, growing stronger forever, but he does yearn to go back to Earth, see his friends there, actually defend it, utilize that power for something. While this quest for power and knowledge is great, he feels like in Otherworld, he can't really use it too well. He wants to put it to use in the living world. I mean, he will be back here someday anyways, so it doesn't matter if he leaves right now. And who knows, maybe he could be alive and come back here too. Just like how Piccolo went to King Kai's planet, although they'd have to make an exception for him. But thankfully, King Kai and Ten grow a pretty strong connection. Ten spends a lot of time on his planet training under him, and King Kai encourages him to learn the Kaioken. He could pull it off, but he kinda sees why Ten doesn't want to try it. Especially as a human, he probably would be naturally disadvantaged using it. Roshi is one thing. The mastery and knowledge that he already had when he's old, combined with the eternal youth that he now has, it makes for a great combo. And it might not be as effective as it is with Piccolo, but the Kaioken does hugely benefit him. And he can find ways to work around it, make it stronger, perfect it somehow. But for Ten, he doesn't want to try that. Although, he does end up learning the Spirit Bomb. He's not completely pure, but he's definitely good of heart by now. And training in Otherworld has really helped him, gaining control over his heart, calming himself. Ten is seeing sizable gains, and even though he's not getting new forms just yet like some of the others, he's growing in his own ways. He's brought back to Earth, and immediately, he sees Piccolo in Kami's clothing. Or, that's what it looks like at first. This is actually Kami. Wait, he's not wrinkly anymore. What's going on? Kami explains. He ended up upgrading the Dragon Ball, but before he did so, he wanted to make sure he could give them more power. Now they can grant 3 wishes like Namex, but more importantly, Kami's wish for eternal youth, just like King Piccolo did, and just like Roshi did. He gained immense amounts of power from it. Of course, he's not as strong as he once was when he and Piccolo were merged, but the other Earthlings agreed. He's grown way stronger from this. And by extension, Shenron is far stronger too. Well, Ten has a lot of catching up to do, and he thanks Kami for that. Glad to see him now in this new state. And Kami says it was necessary. In order to be a more effective guardian of Earth, he wanted to become younger. And he looks forward to seeing what Ten learned so far. Especially now that Kami's so much stronger, he might be able to teach Ten a bit more. Of course, it's not like he's stronger than Ten, but with more strength to back his knowledge up, he could still be a very effective teacher. So, Ten's grown a lot stronger, and so has Kami. Everyone else has kept up with their training of course too, but Vegeta's a pretty unique case. He wants to get Super Saiyan, so he goes out in space to do so, doing some intense training out there, and he knows exactly where to go. It's a planet he was sent to before as a distraction, but from what he briefly saw there, the inhabitants, they seem like they have some weird abilities. He doesn't know how strong they truly are, but that's what he wants to find out. He's going to pursue a different type of training. He doesn't know how to access Super Saiyan otherwise. He needs to think outside the box. And hey, even if he doesn't learn Super Saiyan here, he'll grow stronger in other ways. He ends up going to Yardra, that place he was briefly at before, misdirected by Frieza. He briefly saw the inhabitants using some pretty odd techniques, and they even threatened to drain his energy before he even had the chance to attack. Luckily, he did nothing, because he immediately headed to Earth, but now he wants those techniques for himself. He wants to learn more about it, and for a while, he remains here. Honestly, the group is kinda glad that they don't have to deal with him right now. It's not like he was causing a lot of trouble, it's just he was still kind of a wild card, so they weren't too sure what it was going to be like having him around. But who knows, maybe he'll come back from this experience as a changed person, in one way or another at least. And since they know Vegeta might come back way stronger than before, they're prepared for it. Goku and Gohan have been training with Super Saiyan, getting more practice with that. Yamcha gets more attuned with his Alpha form. This one was actually a little bit tougher to control than Super Saiyan, since a lot of the power was derived from animalistic instincts. But he is getting more of a hang of it, and he's growing a lot stronger. Roshi continues working with Kaioken. As Krillin, well, he just continues being Krillin. He doesn't really have anything unique for himself right now, but that doesn't mean I'm forgetting about him. And at this point, it's not like he really even needs anything. He's still one of the strongest people around, and that's without a unique technique or form with him. That full power form of his works kind of as a temporary boost for him at least, but you can tell it's not something he'll stick with forever, especially after seeing the others getting their own things. No time travel ever appears, but the androids do. Of course, the Red Ribbon Army is still around, at least Gero is. There's no androids 19 and 20, instead, it's just 17 and 18. They attack one day, with the Dragon Team coming in, ready to fight, seeing that there's a threat on Earth again. With how powerful this threat seems, they assume at first it might be another alien invasion of some sorts. But it turns out it's actually 2 humans. Well, seemingly. And knowing how strong they've seen humans before, they're not really too surprised. I mean, just look at the group. Yamcha, Tenshinhan, Krillin, Roshi, Chi-Chi, Chaozu, everybody. All of them are so strong. So it's only natural that another strong human would show up. But these 2 are different. They're modified. They're androids. The group learns this when at first they can't even sense their ki, and Goku notices the logo of the Red Ribbon Army, knowing that they're responsible for these 2. He's surprised to see more androids. I mean, he saw Android 8 before, but he didn't realize anyone was around to even create more in general. But it doesn't matter. They're here for Goku, and they found him. And the group's ready to stand up to them. Unsurprisingly, the androids would likely be noticeably stronger here. Gero has different data to work with and make them stronger by default, but also a huge thing about this scenario is that humans grow way differently. At least those with heavy access to ki. So while that doesn't mean every single person in this world is going to grow as strong as someone like Krillin here, for example, this would apply to the androids, especially since they're being genetically modified to be the strongest humans they could possibly be. Whether intentionally or inadvertently, this change in the series would have a big effect on the androids too. And no matter how strong the group is, it's going to be a tough battle. And at first, it seems the 2 androids are about evenly matched with the group, but their infinite energy becomes tougher and tougher to keep up with. And with the group split up between the 2 androids, that makes things even tougher. 17 and 18 let the group know they can keep this up forever. They're never going to be tired out. And they notice something really interesting. Goku specifically seems to be getting very tired out. Roshi wonders if it's that Super Saiyan form, but Gohan says it can't be. Yeah, it's still draining, but they've worked to make it way less draining than it was before. There's no reason for Goku to be struggling this much with it. I mean, just look at Gohan. He's handling it fine, actually. Goku doesn't know what's happening. He drops into base, then collapses to the ground. Gohan rushes over to help, but then Krillin jumps in. He says Gohan needs to stay here and fight. Krillin will make sure Goku's okay. Gohan's power could help turn the tide of the battle, so they need him here. And Chi-Chi joins along too. She does want to stay and fight and make sure everyone else is okay, but surprisingly, she agrees with Krillin. Gohan should stay behind. He's one of the stronger people in the group, and she tells Gohan he'll help them. He's a key reason for them to have the potential to win here. Reluctantly, Gohan agrees, staying back as Krillin and Chi-Chi take Goku away, trying to figure out what's going on with him. Kami's watching from the lookout. He would love to join in the battle too, but even with his power increase, he still might not be strong enough to help here, and he'd be putting everyone else at risk by doing so. He can't risk them losing the Dragon Balls again, but there is a way he can help out here. He teleports down to the surface, grabbing Goku, Chi-Chi, and Krillin and taking them up to the lookout, trying to figure out what's going on with Goku and see if he could fix it somehow. When he regained his youth, he gained a lot of other strange abilities, mainly powered up versions of things that he used to have before, or other latent Namekian abilities. He might even be able to heal Goku, he's not too sure though, especially because they don't even know what's causing this in the first place. On the battlefield, Ten turns to Yamcha. He has an idea of how to win here. He knows a technique they could use, something that could significantly turn the tide of the battle. But the issue is, he needs to buy some time. Before with Goku here, they might have been able to do so, but Goku got dropped out of the battle too quickly. He'll need Yamcha's help with this one, but with Yamcha actually being one of the strongest in the group right now, they can't have him taken away from the battle because then the androids will get a huge advantage. But luckily, somebody joins in to help them, someone completely unexpected, especially because they don't even know how he got here in the first place. A familiar face materializes out of thin air, appearing behind Android 17. 17's confused at first and jumps back, but then he recognizes who this is. It's Vegeta. You know, they're not too concerned fighting him, but 18 looks over at 17. Did he see Vegeta arrive? And 17 didn't, he thought 18 did. Obviously they wouldn't have sensed Vegeta's ki anyways, but they would have at least seen him arriving on the battlefield, right? Well, it doesn't matter. And Vegeta asks them, what are they confused about? Is it the fact that he just teleported in? And then it hits 10. He realized what happened. He asks, did Vegeta go to Yardrat? And Vegeta's surprised that 10 even knows about that. He remembers in Otherworld hearing of some technique that allowed people to teleport, but he was never able to find anybody from Yardrat to try and learn this technique. But seeing what Vegeta just did, he must have done that. Vegeta sarcastically congratulates him for noticing. That's exactly what he did. But that's not the only trick he picked up on. He sensed this battle going on and wondered what was happening. And 17 actually takes the opportunity to explain. They were here to kill Goku. They're engineered to be the strongest warriors they can be. And Vegeta gets a kick out of this. Really now. They won't be stronger than him though. And if anything, Kakarot's his prey, not theirs. He powers up, transforming into a Super Saiyan, much to the surprise of everyone else, especially Gohan. He knew Vegeta was trying to pursue it, but didn't know he actually obtained it. And 10 realizes, this is perfect, exactly what they needed. He looks over at the rest of the group. Gohan seems to be fine. Vegeta's at peak performance right now. Hiroshi's a little bit worn out from using Kaioken on and off, but he's fine. Especially since Piccolo keeps checking in on him, making sure he's alright with it, knowing how draining the technique can be for everyone else. 10 asks Roshi, make a distraction, it doesn't matter how, just help Vegeta and Gohan. And Roshi nods, saying he'll do whatever he can. Then Yamcha asks, what does he have in mind? And 10 asks Yamcha, how well could he dance? Wait, dance? While in Otherworld, 10 learned a very interesting technique, one that allows two people to fuse, but they need to be of a similar power and a similar height, and it requires a certain dance. Although, if they do mess it up, then the fusion will fail, and it'll just backfire if anything. But Yamcha would be the perfect fusion partner. They're around the same size, and even though Yamcha would have to lower his power a bit, they would be at a similar level if they did so. He wanted to try and teach this to the group someday, because Yamcha, Goku, and Roshi could really benefit from it, being around a similar height and power. Hell, even though Vegeta's a little bit short, maybe he could too. 10 isn't too sure how lenient the dance is, he hasn't really tested it out yet. But it should work perfectly between the two of them, and he shows Yamcha how to do it. Yamcha's terrified though. What happens if they screw it up? 10 says not to worry about it, because he believes that Yamcha could pull it off the first try. They're such close allies, 10 knows he has it in him. That's part of the reason why he's asking Yamcha. He could make a strong fusion with Vegeta, maybe even Piccolo or Roshi, but for Yamcha, the two of them are definitely very compatible for him. And Yamcha has great power to back it up. Piccolo, Vegeta, Gohan, and Roshi all hold off the androids. Gohan is still worried about Goku, but Kami tells them it'll be fine. Krillin and Chi-Chi are even teleported back to the battlefield. They honestly have no idea of what's going on with Goku, but Kami's gonna try and fix it. Although, things are looking bad. The androids are still pushing forward, having fun with this battle, and of course not being worn out. The city they were fighting is completely leveled. Roshi especially is getting worn out from Kaioken. He still hasn't perfected it like he aimed to, but that doesn't deter him. He continuously fights, knowing that he needs to do so for 10 and Yamcha. But then, everyone senses a massive power nearby. The androids don't have a clue of what's going on, but they see a bright flash of light. A brilliant beam of light then flies across the battlefield, directly hitting Android 8, flinging her through a nearby building and then into the ground. They hear a voice yell to Danpa, or two voices yell it actually. She gets up and flies back in, and 17 wonders what that was. How are they powerful enough to hurt her? But she says it's no big deal. They just got lucky. But then 17 receives a flurry of attacks from behind, a wolf fang fist, and they see somebody standing there. It looks like 10, it looks like Yamcha, and his hairline is really messed up. Well, that's the one part he doesn't really like about this fusion, but this fused fighter proclaims that he's Tiencha, a fusion of Tenshinhan and Yamcha. Their powers aren't just added, they're significantly multiplied too. He wonders if he used the alpha form, but for now, he just wants to test out his base, worried about how trying that will affect the fusion, and he might not even need that. He still has another trick up his sleeve too. 17 says he'll fight Tiencha alone. It won't be a big deal, and this is perfect. Tiencha realizes that he has an opportunity here. With the androids being so cocky, he can eliminate one, and then it'll be easy to kill the other. 2 extra arms come out of Tiencha's back, the 4 witches technique. This kind of freaks 17 out, but he's not deterred. The two of them begin fighting, and the rest of the group sees a chance to fight 18, and 17's amazed. Tiencha's power is way more intense than he thought, and briefly, he sees Tiencha's eyes change. Tiencha tries to summon the power of Alpha Yamcha, and it doesn't fully manifest itself, but part of that power is there. Those wolf-like eyes that Yamcha gains in that form appear here, with the fusion terrifying 17 as he glares at him. He unleashes a flurry of attacks, with 4 arms and his immense speed. 17 has no way to counter it, and it's perfect because he's separated from 18. And even though she's powerful, she has Piccolo, Roshi, and then 2 Super Saiyans fighting against her, as well as Krillin and Chi-Chi. They're wearing the androids out. But Tiencha still thinks this might not be enough, and he has the perfect plan. The 2 arms in his back stick up. As his 2 main arms continue fighting, telepathically, he tells the others in the group, lend him energy. In Otherworld, King Kai's actually keeping up with the fight, and he's amazed. He's actually gonna do it. Not only did he use fusion, but he's gonna use the Spirit Bomb. He can't believe it, and he's excited to see it finally used, wondering how well it'll turn out and how powerful it'll be. But he warns the fusion. The energy is gonna be pretty significant, but Tiencha knows that, and that's why he's using it here. The androids get way more confident, knowing that they're gaining ground now. It's because everybody's losing energy. They're not sure why, and they can't even tell that it's happening. But that's what is happening. The group is getting weaker, and they make fun of it too. But really, they're not growing weaker. That strength is getting transferred somewhere else. Vegeta even contemplates using Force Spirit Fission, but these 2 are mechanical. It probably won't even work. And either way, whatever Tiencha is doing, it seems like he should have enough energy. The androids look up. Amidst the fight, Tiencha's 2 other arms are charging a Spirit Bomb high up in the sky. And now it's time. With his 2 main arms, Tiencha performs a Thunder Shock surprise, and he yells to Roshi to do the same. 17 and 18 are paralyzed temporarily, and it takes both of their powers combined to actually do this. The 2 androids are drawn together, and then the Spirit Bomb comes towards them. Piccolo tells Gohan, Krillin, and Chi-Chi that they should help here. He forms a ring of energy in his hands, and they do the same. They're throwing out the androids, restraining them, and the Spirit Bomb is about to hit. But right before it does, the 2 androids break free from the restraints, quickly getting out of the way right before it strikes them. The Spirit Bomb flies off into the distance, slowly traveling as the androids stand there angered. Tiencha can't believe it. That was their one shot. That would have killed them. But then, the 2 androids disappear. They have no clue what's happening, but somehow, they're in front of the Spirit Bomb again. Vegeta quickly grabbed onto both of them, teleporting just in front of where the Spirit Bomb is about to land. He smirks, and waves goodbye as he teleports away, with the 2 then immediately being hit by the attack. The 2 androids are destroyed completely by it, with the Spirit Bomb flying out into space. Well, Vegeta kinda came in clutch there. Again, that was the second time he helped out here. He tells them to save their thanks. He's just glad he got to show what his true powers like. Tiencha defuses, and Ten thanks Yamcha again. Yamcha says he's just glad it worked out, and that should be the last of it. Although, they're wondering how Goku's doing. But the sky then goes dark, almost like someone summoned Shenron. But Krillin knows what this is. Kami was just telling him about this. From what Kami could tell, Goku had some sort of sickness, and it was pretty serious. There was no way for him to reverse it, but Shenron probably could, and that's exactly what happened. Kami was able to summon Shenron, gathering the Dragon Balls amidst the fight, and summoning Shenron to ensure Goku would survive. Had he actually died from this, well, they couldn't bring him back, since it would be a natural sickness. And Kami wants to stay true to his resolution. He wants to help Earth as much as possible, and that doesn't just mean he needs to be stronger, that means all of Earth's warriors, the ones who trained underneath him, they need to be stronger too, and he can't let them die on his watch. If he has the power to save them, he'll do that. It's not just physical strength either, something like that, being able to summon Shenron, creating a way to heal Goku like that. That's a way for him to assist. A big part of the scenario is that the humans want to become a lot stronger. So after seeing the android especially, there's naturally a pretty big question. The humans wonder if they should become androids too. I mean, they are very powerful as is. Yamcha even considers this, but feels like Bulma wouldn't like it. And the funny thing is, Bulma would be the one to actually do the procedure too. By now, they're most likely married. And he's actually fine as is. He thinks his alpha form would be great, and he'd rather work on that than trying to do something completely new. Ten kind of views it as a shortcut, and he has a few better ideas. He tries to go back to Otherworld again too, seeing King Kai once more. And as for Roshi, well, he already has Eternal Youth. He doesn't really need this. But there is one person who is pretty interested in the idea, Krillin. He thinks it would be very smart. Sure, it's a little bit of a shortcut, but who cares? It gives him infinite energy. That's really all that he wants. He just wants to have that. It's not like he needs to be genetically modified to be sturdier like the androids or something. No, he's already strong enough as is, but having that infinite energy, that could be pretty huge. Especially because he feels like he's kind of stagnating here. He does have that full power form, but he wants to get something beyond that too. And maybe, if he had unlimited reserves of energy, that could help him get whatever he has in mind. He's still not completely sure yet, but he decides to go for this. And Bulma's a little bit hesitant because it's weird. She checks in with Krillin. Does he know what he's asking for? He's asking to have an engine installed in him. Yeah, he doesn't care. Infinite energy? That's awesome. Imagine how much training he could do with that. Well, he seems pretty motivated for it, so she helps him out and tells Yamcha she hopes he doesn't get any bright ideas. He reassures her he doesn't want that, but he's interested to see how it'll affect Krillin. Of course, after the Android Saga, we're entering a brief time skip. This upgrade for Krillin happens pretty much immediately after. But what else happens in the meantime? Well, for one, Goku and Gohan are of course still training, eventually even achieving Super Saiyan 2. But again, they're not really the focus of this scenario, even though they are very powerful here. We are more focused on all the other stuff with the humans. Oh yeah, Goten is born too. But again, more importantly, what happens with the humans? Well, as for Roshi, he and Piccolo actually work together a lot more. It's so strange, considering Piccolo, at least the old version of him before he reincarnated, he killed Roshi beforehand, and now they're kind of training partners in a way. The irony isn't lost on either of them. They both realize how strange of a situation it is, but it just goes to show how much Piccolo has changed from the person he was before. The two are both very powerful, and they're both using the same technique, Kaioken. As for Roshi, he's utilizing his great skill and knowledge as a martial artist, and that helps him make the technique a lot more efficient and allows him to use it at higher levels. Of course, he can't use it like how Piccolo does. He can't regenerate, so if his body's being torn apart by it, yeah, he kinda has to work on that first. As for Piccolo though, that's his big advantage. Besides him already having a lot of experience with Kaioken, the thing that makes him really strong with it is the fact that he's advantaged by default with the regeneration that he has. And it's kind of necessary to reiterate, that doesn't mean he can just infinitely use Kaioken. No, it still does drain his stamina whenever he regenerates. He's able to use Kaioken at higher levels and his body will adapt to it at some point. And the more he practices it with it, the more efficiently he could use it and the higher levels that he could use with it too. But obviously, it still isn't going to take a huge hit on his stamina. Even though his body is regenerating when it's being torn apart, it uses some of his power to regenerate in the first place. Still, it's a pretty huge advantage. We already kind of covered Yamcha. He's going to be sticking with his alpha form. Honing it even further, he sees Goku and Gohan evolving Super Saiyan, and he still has no clue of what this form is, but wonders if he could evolve it in some way too. Super Alpha Yamcha or something? Well, for now he's just going to work on using the form at its full power, trying to harness complete control of it and the ki that comes from it too. Which eventually he does so. Think of it kind of as his version of Super Saiyan Grade 4 or something. And 10, well, he goes back to Otherworld, learning more techniques and training with all the people up there too. It's a great place to go in the meantime. Even Chaozu comes along too. He's kind of lagging behind still, but this will actually help him catch up a little bit more. There is still one person I'm missing though. I said the Saiyans weren't a big focus here, but Vegeta's a completely different character here right now. At least his backstory is. He's still not really that great of a guy. He's still kind of the anti-hero here. After the fight with the androids, he pretty much immediately leaves Earth. At first, he was considering, try to get the Dragon Balls, maybe use it to revive people, like Raditz and Nappa maybe, but then he reconsiders thinking they're kind of weaklings anyways and it's already too far gone for that. He doesn't really have a reason to revive them, and he still thinks the Dragon Balls only revive people, but he feels like there's gotta be something more to it. But he doesn't really care about that anymore. For one, if he tried to seek out the Dragon Balls, he'd surely be stopped by everybody there. Yeah, he's powerful on his own, but there's a lot of strong people there too. Who knows, maybe those two humans could use fusion again against him. Even with Spirit Fission, they'd be a great distraction and a huge challenge before he could defuse them. Gohan is a Super Saiyan, probably stronger than Vegeta too. And now that Kakarot's cured from that virus or whatever, he could probably defeat Vegeta too. Vegeta's already got a great advantage in techniques though, and he wonders, maybe he should go around the universe. You know, going to Yardrat was very helpful, so what if he found other planets with great techniques like that? Or at least go back to Yardrat in general. He's not entirely sure of what to do, but he kind of leaves on his own accord. Unannounced too, they all wonder what Vegeta's up to. He doesn't really seem like too much of a threat here. It's not like he's gonna come back and destroy them all, but they're still curious as to what he's up to. He's very to himself, very secluded, which kind of makes sense to them anyways. It's just strange. They wonder what's going on in his mind. The thought even crosses his mind to get the Dragon Balls somewhere else and try to get immortality that way, but he doesn't really care about that. Immortality makes things a little bit too easy for him. Not to mention, he doesn't even know where he could even look for other Dragon Balls too. I mean, there's Namek, maybe he can go there, but they're probably on guard now anyways, especially after what happened with the last time they were there. He'd rather not try and chase Dragon Balls, which might amount to nothing. Instead, he's gonna chase actual techniques that could amount to something. And the best part is, he has really easy ways to transport himself around the universe. Instant transmission. He can leave this soft planet and do whatever he pleases. Working even further on Force Spirit Fission too. So that basically covers that little time skip. Now we enter the Buu Saga. As a little bit of a side note, I'm gonna say all the great Saiyaman stuff still does happen. It still seems like something Gohan would do. The only difference is Gohan's already been keeping up with his training still, because Goku's still around to motivate him. Not to mention Roshi, who was his teacher at one point a while back. He has a lot of good influences, and he's going to be a good influence on Goten as well. Especially because, unfortunately for Goten, there's no Trunks here. But he still has Gohan around, and the two train together a lot as brothers. Also training with Goku a lot too. And, obviously Chi-Chi, another huge influence here. There's no reason for both of them to not be training. Goku's alive, Chi-Chi's actually a fighter here, and the fact that pretty much everyone around them influences that. You guys could probably guess where I'm going with the Buu Saga though. I know, I skipped the Buu Saga a lot in some scenarios, but hey, in my defense, a lot of the more recent ones had the Buu Saga. It's not that I don't like it, it's that you just need a lot of very specific things to happen in a good order to actually cause it to happen. And here, I just kind of see it being avoided. So why is that? Well, on one hand, it could have happened. I mean, there's a lot of people here with lots of power to absorb, so there's a lot more potential targets for Babidi to take power from. Maybe he could have tried to possess Vegeta, but Vegeta's not even here. That would have been very easy, especially since Vegeta's not connected with the group at all. But that's not a possibility, whether that's before the tournament or when they actually arrive at Babidi's ship. At best, Spopovich and Yama would probably be able to steal some energy at the tournament, but there's a lot of things that happen differently here. Everyone being stronger means that there's more energy to take, but that doesn't benefit Bobby at all if he can't actually get to them and take that energy. These people are very smart. They have great guidance and there's a lot of great minds working together. Once the Kais come to Earth, they're able to formulate some much better plans to actually infiltrate Babidi's spaceship. And by the time they get there, it's not like Majin and Vegeta would be a thing, like I mentioned before. I mean, Babidi might be able to try and look into other people's hearts. You know, Tenshinhan wasn't that great of a guy before, and obviously Piccolo's there too. He's another potential target. But they're way too far reformed, and they wouldn't willingly give into it like Vegeta did. And that's the thing, he willingly gave into it. These two, they wouldn't do that, and they'd probably be a lot harder to possess anyways. And other than that, he can't possess anybody. And it's not like his troops are going to do anything either. Pui, Yakon, and even Dabura, they won't be a challenge for anybody, especially if Gohan, the Great Saiyaman, especially if the Great Saiyaman ends up facing Dabura. He's kept up with his training, so there's no reason for him to not be stronger here. There's other people in the group too that could possibly contend with him. Hell, it's not crazy to say that pretty much everyone in the group can contend with him. Honestly, I feel like everyone here with how strong they are, they'd all have a chance besides Shin, Kibito, and probably Chi-Chi and Chaozu. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about them though. Chi-Chi's time is coming soon. But yeah, with all that, the Buu saga is completely avoided, with Dabura and Babidi easily stopped. A crisis averted. Although this does lead to something pretty interesting. Ten meets the Supreme Kai, Shin. He's heard about him. Obviously he's been in Otherworld so much. And Shin actually has heard about Ten too. I mean, the other Kais all know about him. All the other directional Kais have seen Ten as well. Even one of his rivals in Otherworld, Pikkon, he's another student of another Kai. Especially with all the time he spent training there, there's no way that he hasn't met some of the other Kais around there. And word about this fighter from Earth, this living fighter, it's definitely got around to the other Kais. And Shin already knows what Ten's gonna ask. I mean, he could read minds after all. And he says yes before Ten can even ask it. Ten wanted to be a student of his. And Shin says it could be pretty interesting. But if he's so highly regarded by all the other Kais, then Ten would be a great person to train under him. Who knows, maybe he could even pull the Z-Sword. And Ten's grateful for this. But he does have one request. While he's there training with them, can he bring a friend along? And Shin says he already kind of expected Ten to ask that. What, because he was reading his mind? No, actually, he already did kind of expect this. After hearing about Ten from the Kais, he's also heard about Pikkon, and Ten was actually going to ask if Pikkon could come along. All of Ten's friends on Earth have heard about Pikkon. He's apparently some really strong dead guy, and they hope they get to see him one day too. But since both of them are so strong in Otherworld, Shin says it's only natural that they want to train under Supreme Kais now. He'd be glad to get both of them as students. Thankfully for everyone here, this leads to another long period of peacetime. Besides the conflict with Bobby and Dabura, there hasn't been anything bad since the androids. But it's long overdue. There's somebody out there seeking a rival, a godly figure that had a premonition, one of a Super Saiyan god. It's Beerus. At some point, he will wake up, still wanting to seek out the Super Saiyan god. But he hears something really interesting. There's apparently this planet called Earth, and not only do Saiyans live there, but a bunch of other strong people live there too, at least by regular mortal standards. But what interests him most is the fact that Saiyans live there, as well as apparently some guy that's the student of the Supreme Kai. This planet must be really interesting. There's no way there's not a Super Saiyan god on that planet. So Beerus immediately heads there, locating Goku and Gohan, his two candidates for Super Saiyan God. They're apparently the strongest Saiyans around. I mean, he did hear that Vegeta's still around too. But here on Earth, he heard there's 3 Saiyans, all from the same family. One of whom being a hybrid, who apparently has some pretty great potential, and one of whom just being a pure Saiyan. And these two, they were both actually the first Super Saiyans. And they'd definitely be glad to help, but they have no clue what a Super Saiyan God is. Although, Shenron might have an idea, with Kami suggesting that they ask him. Once he sees Beerus here, he'll do anything to try and please Beerus. Seeing a god this powerful is just insane for him. Even as the Guardian of Earth, he feels pretty much like nothing in comparison. And of course, they hear about the Super Saiyan God ritual. So, they're gonna need a few extra Saiyans. They only have 3 here. Well, we kinda glossed over the Buu saga, but Gohan and Videl are actually together still in the scenario. And she would butt in and say they have Pan, or at least the fact that she's pregnant with another Saiyan, so maybe that does count. But they still need 2 more Saiyans. And Goku says maybe Vegeta would help, although they have no clue where to look for him or what he's up to. And there's also another problem. Is he even eligible for the ritual? They have no clue. They apparently need 5 other righteous Super Saiyans. They don't know if Vegeta would necessarily qualify as that. Although, we're gonna make the ritual more lenient here and say they just need 5 other Saiyans. But Beerus does remember Whis mentioned that Vegeta's out there somewhere. Maybe Whis could find him. And sure enough, Whis is able to locate him. And they're about to go to his location. But instead, Vegeta surprisingly teleports over to them. I mean, he could teleport. Whis says it's easier to just have him teleport over here. All he needed to say was that Lord Beerus was requesting him. Vegeta's there dumbfounded, having no idea of who contacted him. But he sees Beerus and Whis standing there, and I mean Whis, some random guy speaking to him across the entire universe. Of course that's gonna set some alarms off and tell Vegeta that this is legit. And they fill him in. He says he will join on the ritual, but there's a condition. He agrees to this only if he's the one to become a Super Saiyan God. I mean, it's like they said, they don't even know if he's compatible in the ritual. Apparently 5 other Saiyans need to lend their energy to one other Saiyan. Maybe it'll work better if they lend it to him. Maybe that last one doesn't need to be so righteous. And Beerus tells Vegeta to not act cute. He's not going to blackmail them, especially because they still need another Saiyan, not just Vegeta. But Vegeta says that's exactly where he could help. Consider this a bargain of sorts. He knows another Saiyan out there, one who could probably help with a ritual. Well, actually a few others, but there's one who's particularly interesting. He explains, ever since he left Earth, he's been seeking out more fighters. He's been trying to grow in power too. Eventually he achieved Super Saiyan 2, even going beyond that, getting Super Saiyan 3, but he still wanted more strength, more power. And one day he came across a power that surprised him. It ended up being another Saiyan. Of course, he even sought out his brother Tarble, but Tarble wasn't one to fight. This other Saiyan, he was. This was Broly. When he detected this power and teleported to the planet, it was some abandoned planet where he met Paragus and Broly. And naturally, Paragus sent Broly to attack Vegeta. But there were 2 big things working in Vegeta's favor here. One, the fact that he was way stronger, even being able to utilize Super Saiyan 3 in battle. But he didn't even get to use that. The other thing that worked in his favor is the fact that Paragus electrocuted Broly before he went fully berserk. Knowing that it would be risky, Vegeta might have killed Broly, and if he let Broly fight any longer, there's no way that he would have survived. He would have went berserk and probably destroyed everything, killing all 3 of them in the process. Paragus had no hope of standing up to Vegeta, but Vegeta said they could mutually benefit. It took a lot of convincing, especially with Paragus' hate for Vegeta. But Vegeta was able to get them off the planet, and in exchange, he wanted to train with Broly, learn more about the Saiyan's power, the same that he detected out in space. He was about to bring them back to Earth, but decided it's probably better if he trains with Broly on this barren planet out in the middle of nowhere. And as for Paragus, well, he had the perfect place to send him, Planet Tech Tech, where Tarble is. Paragus didn't even know that King Vegeta had another son. And the thought crosses his mind to probably enact revenge on Tarble, but he realized how stupid that is when he sees how completely different Tarble is from other Saiyans. Also, if he does try anything here, Vegeta will definitely seek him out and kill him instantly. So yeah, Paragus is on his best behavior. So, reluctantly, everyone agrees. Vegeta can become the Super Saiyan God, and he thanks Beerus for accepting. Quickly he teleports away, and then comes back with another Saiyan. It's Broly. They were actually training just now, and Broly's amazed to see this planet. Vegeta did tell him about it. Although Vegeta didn't really see a need to go back there, and Broly would be worried to go there anyways too because he didn't want to accidentally destroy everything. He still can't control his power. Again, the training's mutually beneficial. Not only does it allow Vegeta to grow stronger, but allows Broly to channel his power, trying to gain control on that as well. But that's not important right now. What's important is the fact that they could actually do the ritual. Well, maybe. The 5 Saiyans all get together, trying to channel their power into Vegeta. Broly can't even turn Super Saiyan, and obviously Pan's not even born yet. But miraculously, it still ends up working. You have the 3 pure-hearted Super Saiyans, Goku, Gohan, and Goten. And Pan's pure-hearted, even though she's not a Super Saiyan, and not even born yet. This ended up working in the original story anyways. And Broly, well, he's not a Super Saiyan, and he's probably not a righteous Saiyan either. And we could use either of those explanations for the ritual, but instead I'm going to say, let's have a little bit of leeway here. This isn't too crazy of a creative liberty, and I'm going to say here the ritual still ends up working. And now, we have Super Saiyan God Vegeta. Now with Super Saiyan God, Vegeta's ready to face Beerus. The immense power of this form is overflowing. He can't believe how strong this is. Although, it turns out to not be incredibly impressive against Beerus. Sure, it's strong, and he does enjoy the fight, and he sees the potential within Vegeta too, but it's still not really what he expected. He only had to use a fraction of his power. Pretty standard Battle of God stuff, which is kind of why I'm going through it pretty briefly. And even though there's nothing really too crazy from this fight, the effects of this arc will change the story pretty significantly. Of course, Beerus is going to end up taking Vegeta on his planet, training him under Whis, and Vegeta's glad to do this. He'll be stronger than anyone this way. Although, Beerus can tell, Vegeta still is kind of a loose cannon. Remember, Vegeta's not really the same person that he was in the main story. He's still kind of in his anti-hero phase, which I kind of touched upon in the last part too, taking that liberty and giving Vegeta Super Saiyan God. And that's what makes Beerus wonder. Well, Vegeta's not really one that seems fitting of the godly form, but he still was able to get it somehow. So Beerus wonders, what if they had a Saiyan that actually was fitting what that form is supposed to be? I mean, from what they were told about this form when they first inquired about it, it was used by righteous Saiyans after all. So what if they had an actual righteous Saiyan with the form, that being Goku? Beerus ends up taking a couple people to his planet, Vegeta, Goku, and Broly surprisingly. Broly shows some great potential. He's not necessarily a righteous Saiyan, but he still has a ton of potential with his power. Vegeta already lost the Super Saiyan God form after his fight, absorbing it into his base, and with everyone thinking that he might have just lost it permanently, even though he kept the godly key. They still have no clue of what's going on with it yet, and that's why Beerus is specifically wondering if he should take Goku with him. Vegeta's a bit annoyed by it, but whatever. He's still got to become a Super Saiyan God and access that godly power, and he's going to use that going forward, trying to be the strongest still. And it makes Goku wonder, well, maybe Vegeta did fit the form after all. Vegeta's definitely changed at least a bit, and it makes Goku and the others pretty curious. Goku would love to take more people with him, specifically Gohan, Chi-Chi, and Goten. But Gohan would prefer to stay here, and while Chi-Chi is definitely up for training, she thinks it's best that they all stay here too. She has to draw the line somewhere, but they could all still grow strong here, so it's okay. They just hope Goku stays careful because really, he's the only good one in that crew. Beerus is still kinda sketchy, and same for that Broly guy. And even though Vegeta's cooled down, he still is Vegeta. But hey, again, if he got that godly form, and what they heard about it is true, maybe he's not as bad as before. Hopefully at least, it's wishful thinking. All the while, everyone continues their normal training. Roshi and Piccolo continue growing stronger together. And now with Goku gone, Gohan, Goten, and Chi-Chi would probably join them occasionally. Although Chi-Chi more so trains Goten. Since Gohan is actually above the two of them, he feels his time is better spent with Piccolo and Roshi, even though the three of them all have wildly different powers. And all this makes Piccolo wonder. Kaioken is great, especially the hugely high level he has it at, but he wonders if there's a form that he can get. The Saiyans all have their transformations. Hell, even Yamcha has a transformation. Roshi and Krillin have their max power things, and even though it's not really something like Super Saiyan, it's still a transformation. It's cool. As a Namekian, maybe he has something unique. And by training with these two, maybe it could help him find something, even if he's wildly different than the two of them. Let's also go over to the Sacred World of Kais. Ten has been training non-stop. Same for Pikkon. He's surprised that he was actually allowed to come here. But Shin and Kibito seem pretty lenient around him. The two are growing incredibly powerful from their training. And at one point, Ten is even able to pull the Z-Sword. The two of them start training together with it. But with how rapidly they're growing, the Z-Sword can't keep up at some point, which means it ends up breaking, unleashing Elder Kai from its seal, completely dumbfounding everyone there. Thankfully, it's not like the Buu Saga where they're just under constant threat right now, so it's a little bit more chill here, and they don't find out about his ritual immediately, but at some point, they do. Elder Kai sees how strong they're growing, and even though it's weird to have some mortals training here, especially one who's dead, they do seem like righteous warriors, and maybe they could benefit from this power. He's curious to see it too, so they both learn of Elder Kai's ritual, and they're not strapped for time either, so it's not going to have to be cut short or anything. They can get the full ritual, with both Ten and Pikkon having their potentials awakened, giving them their ultimate forms. The two are pleasantly surprised by it. They weren't too sure at first because they're just being gifted this power. It doesn't feel like it's earned, but they have a different mindset once they get it. They're going to utilize this gift to its fullest, not let it go to waste. And even though it is a gift, they can use it as a stepping stone to train harder and get some different things. They're confident about their future, and this ultimate form is definitely going to help them going forward. Ten especially can't wait to get back to Earth and show everybody. And it's not just this, he's learning so many other things. Just like in Otherworld, he's focused on different techniques that he can learn. Hell, even Elder Kai tells him that there's a different way to do fusion, with Potara earrings. But he's looking at other techniques too, specifically ones that Kais have. But there's some trouble brewing out in space. The Frieza Force definitely has some spies out, some that still survived. They have some pretty interesting info, both from King Cold encounter on Namek, and of course, Frieza's initial encounter with everybody. Wish Orbs are on Earth and on Namek, and people could be revived by them. They're able to get the Dragon Balls from Earth, reviving Lord Frieza. And Frieza's ready to enact his revenge. It's not just those pesky Saiyans, it's everyone else on Earth. Those monkeys, that Wolfman, and those other Earthlings too. Last time he got too ahead of himself. He should have just wiped them out when he had the chance. And he did kill a few of them, but this time, he'll make sure to kill every last one. Especially those Super Saiyans. And if Vegeta's still there, Frieza will make sure to have some fun with him too. But mainly that Saiyan Goku, his son, and his Earthling friends. Mainly the strong ones like Yamcha, and the three-eyed one who sealed him away. That part annoyed him most. His training commences, which leads to him heading to Earth at some point, now with more power and his golden form. And he knows to expect a lot of strong people there. It's not just the Saiyans, everyone on this planet is powerful. So, he actually trained a little bit extra this time, just in case. An extra month actually, which is a lot for him. Immediately he's met by a welcoming crew, a group that decimates his army. Gohan, Chi-Chi, Yamcha, Piccolo, Goten, Trunks, Roshi, Chiaotzu, and even Kami who decides to help fight. This group is already overkill, but Frieza was prepared for that. He knew it would be a little bit tougher, so he steps up, ready to face them. Gohan stands at the front of the group, with Roshi and Piccolo alongside him. They're all looking to test their newfound strength. Piccolo goes up first. He powers up into Kaioken. With Frieza actually taken aback at how much power he's giving off, the pressure from his aura alone, Frieza immediately goes into his final form, ready to face this Namekian. Piccolo tells Frieza he's been looking to test out this power for a while. He shouts, Kaioken full power. His aura grows massively. This level of Kaioken is so high that he doesn't even know what the multiplier is. And it progressively grows the more he trains with it. It's the maximum amount of power he could output. Well, at least without completely destroying his body. He lost count of how strong this was after getting to the 500 range. He tells Frieza who knows, maybe he's in the thousands by now, maybe even more. He simply can't quantify how strong this Kaioken is. Frieza gets ready to attack, but before he can even do so, Piccolo dashes quickly towards him. Frieza can't react to his speed. Piccolo completely vanishes from everyone's sight, and Roshi tells the others, Piccolo's gotten to a level of Kaioken that he didn't even know was possible. It's absurdly powerful, and he knows Piccolo's going to continue pushing it. Frieza takes a flurry of attacks from Piccolo, but ultimately he's able to unleash a lot of energy, knocking everyone back, giving him a little bit of an opportunity to transform, showing off his new golden form. He didn't realize he'd have to bring it out this soon, but he's confident that this will be more than enough to face Piccolo. And Piccolo says it's a great increase in power, but he's still confident in his own abilities. The two start clashing. It's so incredibly fast that it's hard to keep track of. Every time they strike each other, there's a massive shockwave sent throughout the area. But Roshi's concerned. That Kaioken is powerful, but at the max power, it is still tearing Piccolo's body apart. He's not sure how long he can keep it up. Piccolo does want to just finish this battle as quickly as he can, but now Frieza's a much tougher opponent, especially since he has trained a little bit longer. But mid-battle, Frieza suddenly freezes up mid-air, allowing Piccolo to land a perfect attack. But they're both confused. What just happened? Why was Frieza just paralyzed momentarily? And Piccolo hears a familiar voice, saying he'll take it from here, and that he wants Piccolo to rest for a bit. It's Ten Shinhan. And Pikkon there too. Shin and Kibito are nearby as well, and Frieza recognizes him. That's the one who sealed him before. And now this time he paralyzed Frieza mid-battle? And who's this other guy? Ten said he sensed the battle far away, and using the Kai Kai, he and Pikkon came over, with Shin and Kibito following him. Elder Kai wanted to sit this one out. Shin's looking forward to see how his students perform, but Ten feels like he's got this in the bag. Piccolo powers down, asking if Ten is absolutely sure that he's got this, and Ten says he knows he does. It's not cockiness. He actually is sure that he can do this. And Frieza reminds Ten, he shouldn't get too confident. He has that sealing ability, but besides that, he was useless in that first fight against Frieza. And Ten agrees. He couldn't hope to have faced Frieza before, but that changes here. And he's not going to have to seal away Frieza this time. He'll be sure to just eradicate him with his raw strength. Ten is surrounded by a white aura, showcasing his ultimate form. But it's not just this. His aura starts swirling up, forming into some giant construct around him. Ten ascends into the air. Frieza tries to attack, but then Pikkon jumps in, defending Ten. He wants to see this too, and he's not going to let Frieza play a dirty trick and hit Ten while he's powering up. Frieza's outraged by Pikkon. He doesn't even know who this guy is. Why is he metal? And he notices the halo too. Is he dead? Ten's aura swirls up more, and begins taking shape into something else. It looks like a giant humanoid behind him, like a giant avatar of himself made of ki. Ten floats there in the air, legs crossed, looking like he's meditating. All of his eyes are closed too, but his third eye opens up, glowing while the other two remain shut. And from that construct behind him, two eyes open up where the face should be, and Frieza's mortified. He can feel those eyes looking through his soul. And that ki construct, it has so many arms. Ten's voice projects through the area. This is the 100 Wishes technique. This giant construct floats towards Frieza, attacking with dozens of arms. He's continuously trained, awakening a new version of himself. He sits at the core of this construct, looking like the heart of it, and his eyes remain closed as he controls the arms. This is the culmination of all of his training, all the godly training he's done, with Kami, King Kai, Shin, Kibito, Elder Kai, and all the gods he's met in Otherworld, as well as all the other great fighters he's come across in his life. This is his godly form, and Frieza tries attacking the heart of it, where Ten actually is. He punches through one of the arms, but another one grabs him midair. Frieza breaks himself free, trying to attack the others too, but another arm gets in the way, blocking him. He's surrounded by all of these arms, with all the arms separated from the body, being able to float around Frieza, attacking freely however they want. And the two eyes of the construct look towards him, as well as Ten's third eye on his actual body. There's a piercing glow coming from each of the eyes, and his voice echoes through the area once again. He told Frieza he wanted him to not underestimate his new state of being. All the arms swirl around Frieza, each forming a diamond shape with the hands, and Frieza's held at the center by two of the arms. All at once, these other arms launch Kikohos, and from each of the eyes, the ones on the ki construct and Ten's actual eye, the lasers are launched, converging at a single point where Frieza is. All these ki blasts combine, completely eradicating Frieza, as the construct disappears and Ten slowly floats towards the ground. It's the first time he got to use this in actual combat. It takes a little bit to activate, but it worked pretty well, and Pikkon congratulates him. He knew it would be powerful, but seeing it in action, that's a completely different thing, and everyone else is completely dumbfounded. But Shin and Kibito are proud of him, as are the others too. Looks like Ten's been doing a lot more training than they realized. Yamcha, Krillin, Roshi, and Chi-Chi are especially intrigued by this. They know Ten's different from them, but if that's what an Earthling is capable of, they can only imagine where they can go next. And on Beerus' planet, they all watch this as well. Goku did want to go back there, asking Vegeta to teleport him there, but Whis decided they should just watch and see what's happening. If they really need to intervene, they will. And Vegeta's actually impressed. He didn't think the Earthlings could grow that powerful. And it's not just that. Look at that Namekian. Also, Gohan showed some amazing strength too, even without a godly form. Although he didn't get to show his full power in this battle, he is working towards something unique for himself, and he knows he's on the cusp of obtaining it. But of course, the three Saiyans on Beerus' planet are doing the same as well. Vegeta was actually able to harness the power of a Super Saiyan God once again, and Goku was able to get it as well. Both of them now have Super Saiyan Blue, a new power combining Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan God. As for Broly, well, he doesn't even really have Super Saiyan yet. He has transformed into it a few times, but having him harness that power is pretty tough. So they're kind of starting from square one and getting him to get control on his wrathful form. And it's interesting for Goku to train with these two. Vegeta and Broly, they're so different from him and the other Earthlings. Vegeta still is ahead of the two of them. Broly has more latent power, but he can't control all of it. Vegeta, he actually has more power than the two of them. And it's not just that, he has some great techniques too, specifically the ones he learned from Yardrat. That technique that Ten used, where he created a giant construct of himself. It reminds Vegeta how he could change his size. Not like that where it makes a ki construct, but he could physically change himself. All his spirit control abilities are very useful. From here, eventually the Universe 6 tournament gets set into motion, and I'm not really going to spend time covering it. We all know it's going to be a wash. For the sake of the video, we'll say the team is made up of Goku, Vegeta, Broly, Piccolo and Tenshinhan. It's not even fair for Champa. And we actually don't have anything with Zamasu either. Sure, he still hates mortals, but with no time travel here, there was even less of a reason for him to go off the rails. He doesn't like the mortals making a mockery of godly power. But at least they're not messing with time as well. Well, besides Hit. But that all gets avoided. And once again, this means another time skip, but a pretty brief one, between Resurrection F and the beginning of the Tournament of Power. With the Universe 6 tournament still happening, Zeno decides he still does want to do a tournament. It would be fun to pass some time, and it gives him a reason to test the universes. Hell, it might actually happen sooner because Zeno would probably get very bored, especially without a duplicate version of himself. But that tournament is set into motion. So what is the team going to be here? Well, we obviously have the same people from the Universe 6 tournament: Goku, Vegeta, Broly, Ten, and Piccolo. And as for the rest, we have more than enough people here. The next 5 fighters are a pretty easy pick: Gohan, Roshi, Krillin, Yamcha, and Pikkon. It's a shame because they have so many other strong people too. Hell, they could have gotten Chi-Chi, Chaozu, Goten, or even Kami on the team. But they decided to sit this one out. Chi-Chi voluntarily stays out, saying the others would be better picks. She feels kind of left behind, but use this as motivation. She's gonna grow stronger than anyone. She knows she could obtain something soon enough. And Goten thinks the same. The two will continue their training. And Kami's glad with his new power, but he's not really a fighter to begin with. He only fights when absolutely necessary. He'd rather leave that to the rest of the team. And Chaozu, yeah, he's stronger than normal, but he's not really keeping up too much with the others, unfortunately. But he's also fine sitting it out. He doesn't take offense to it. But this tournament's gonna be great for everybody. They're confident that they could win this, but at the same time, it also means they could test out all their new powers. Everyone has grown so much, and besides Resurrection F, no one's really had a chance to test their powers. And even then, only a few people got to fight Frieza. This time, it's a battle royale. Everyone will have the chance to utilize their new powers. Like, yeah, they had the Universe 6 tournament, but here, they could really go all out, especially with how much some of them have grown since then even. And there's also Pikkon, who people don't really know yet, besides that brief appearance against Frieza. So they'll get to see his strength too. This is the first time the whole group is actually back together in action. Like, yeah, occasionally they all will be together, but here, they're all gonna be in one spot, all fighting at their maximum power. It's just like old times again, and the stakes are still pretty high, but they're confident. They can make this work. They could win for Universe 7. And hopefully it's just not Vegeta that gets the wish, because they still aren't sure what he would wish for. Although, by now he's still not really a terrible guy, especially after beating Cabba in the Universe 6 tournament, becoming somewhat of a mentor for him, albeit a bit harsher. So maybe he will fight for the sake of others this time. But that all remains to be seen. Before heading off to the tournament, some decide that it might be a good idea to train in the room Spirit in Time. Roshi asks Goku to go in there, going in with Piccolo as well. As for the rest of his students, he's seen what they're capable of. I mean, they've been on Earth this entire time. But Goku, he hasn't seen him in a while. He wonders how his training's going along, and wants to see how he's improved. Actually, it was Kami who told him they should go in the room of Spirit in Time. He's worked on improving it too, and they don't have a limit on how much they could use it. This was mainly at the request of Piccolo and Roshi, but it's definitely going to help everybody. They don't have too much time before the tournament, but obviously this will help. And it's just those three that go in, and there's a good reason for that. Now, we head off to the actual tournament itself. I'm just going to get in front of it and say, we all know that Universe 7's going to win. So I'm not going to go too in-depth in the tournament, and you'll see why, especially once you see how it starts to go. But it does act as a great opportunity for everyone to showcase their powers. So let's cover some of the important things, especially showing how strong everyone's grown since we last saw them. As for Krillin, we know he's been training non-stop as an android. That's one of the main reasons he got that upgrade. Infinite stamina is great for training, and it's just as amazing for fighting too. This means Krillin's been able to train way more than he did originally, and he's been able to do even more intense training than before. He's been growing significantly. The best part is, before he became an android, he already had a great access to Ki and was a pretty strong warrior. This only makes him even stronger. Him becoming an android was very effective, and he's immensely powerful, but surprisingly, he's not even one of the strongest on the team. And again, this isn't me saying that he's weak by any means. It's just that everyone on this team is so vastly powerful that even a strong character like Krillin here could fall behind them, but he still leaps and bounds beyond where he is normally. As for Yamcha, he's unlocked a new stage of the Alpha form. It doesn't look too much different, but he has 100% control over it, and has learned a couple different things about this form. 1, it grows stronger with rage. 2, it grows stronger with an overflowing battle spirit. Think of that like Ultra Ego. And 3, it's a very agile form. It gives him the properties of a wolf after all, so he wants to use that to his advantage. Of course, like other forms, it improves pretty much every aspect of him. The one thing that he notices is that his speed is so much more improved than everything else. It's like when he transforms into this, the boost in speed he gets is greater than the boost in everything else. So he tries to apply that to his fighting style. Also, he's somewhat inspired by what Ten has. Using a giant Ki construct is really cool, so Yamcha tries to do that himself, morphing the strange aura of this form to look kinda like a wolf. It's not a true transformation, but it's like the head of a wolf forms around him, comprised completely of his aura. When he's in this powered up state, his tail fluffs up too. His claws grow sharper. All of his senses improve significantly. And besides just that wolf head, his Ki forms larger claws around his hands too. And these Ki constructs that he makes, he can control them just like normal body parts, even the jaw of that wolf that's surrounding him. It allows him to enact larger and deadlier attacks. And he's been having a lot of fun with this form. As for Ten himself, well, he and Pikkon have been working more with the Kais. In their eyes, Learning more about magic was the next big step for them. They're very adept with it now, and it has very great properties: teleportation, object manipulation, paralysis, healing. They've only just scratched the surface of what magic can do, and they're excited to learn more about it, while also training to grow stronger like they have been normally. And it's pretty important to acknowledge Ten because he has a pretty good plan here. Some of the Saiyans probably would want to get involved in the fight. I don't know about Broly, but definitely Goku and Vegeta. It's just how Saiyans are. They love battle. And as much as Ten enjoys fighting, well, he's a much more strategic person, and given the stakes here, he doesn't really want to mess around. And some of the others agree too, including people like Piccolo, Gohan, etc. So immediately at the beginning of the battle, Ten activates the 100 Witches technique, catching everyone off guard when they see this giant key construct appear out of nowhere. In a couple swift motions, he's able to eliminate dozens of fighters. No one gets how he did this, or how he's so powerful and did it so casually. Of course, this makes him a giant target. They can see Ten floating at the center of it, and of course he's able to defend himself pretty easily. But even if he weren't able to do so, he has some good friends defending him, Pikkon and Yamcha mainly, both of whom are willing to fuse with Ten if it comes down to it, or even each other. But that might not even be necessary here. Piccolo and Roshi feel very prepared for this tournament. Piccolo's pretty interested in what Ten and Pikkon have, that ultimate form where it unlocks all their potential. It makes him wonder if he should try doing that. You know, maybe ask Shenron for it. But he hasn't gotten around to it yet. Instead, he's been focusing mainly on Kaioken still. More so, the fact that he could regenerate, trying to grow stronger with that. He's already improved Kaioken as much as he possibly can, at least in terms of how he can max out the multiplier. So instead, he's going to improve his regeneration, so he could use Kaioken for longer, and possibly go even further with Kaioken. And that's what he was doing in the Room of Spirit and Time. As for Roshi, he normally was training with Piccolo anyways, but he learned something interesting from Goku. He hasn't been around the gods, but learned what Goku and Vegeta were being taught by Whis. Goku actually came to Roshi for advice because maybe he could help with this. He is pretty knowledgeable after all. And Roshi feels like he has kind of a good idea of what to do here. They had about a year to train, and it was actually perfect. And for Roshi, surprisingly this wasn't too hard to tap into. It's something that he always kind of knew as a martial artist, allowing his body to move on its own, reacting instinctively. But with a pure focus on that now, he's unlocked something amazing, and so has Goku. The two are ready to show the fruits of their training. Goku's pretty bummed that Ten eliminated a lot of the fighters, and it's great that his team is doing well, but they're eliminating people way too quick. But Goku has the perfect opponent to face, Jiren, apparently one of the strongest mortals here. He and Roshi go against Jiren together, with Goku pacing himself at first, cycling through all of his forms before he eventually gets to something new. The two are surrounded by a strange aura, but they don't change too much physically. They go into Ultra Instinct only. This amazes all the gods, especially Beerus and Whis. When did Goku get that? And more importantly, how did that human get it? It's not the true complete Ultra Instinct just yet, but Omen's still more than good enough. And it shows they're on the right track, especially because they can control Omen pretty well actually. This isn't the first time either of them are using it, but still, even if it's not complete, it's incredibly impressive. And especially with the power of the rest of their team backing them, Jiren is defeated, as is pretty much everyone else. And the craziest part is, Universe 7 has no eliminations. Even if someone were almost eliminated, well, they have Vegeta and Ten and Pikkon, all of whom could just teleport to someone and bring them back in the ring. And there's also Piccolo, who could just stretch his arms. Oh yeah, and if they ever needed someone to heal them, Ten and Pikkon are there. This is the most stacked team that they could possibly have. And with how powerful everyone is, Zeno is actually pretty intrigued by Universe 7's history and growth. He wonders if other universes could be the same. Look how impressive these people are. And the best part is, they made the exact wish he wanted. Ten gets MVP because, well, he got more than enough eliminations. And his strategy was really helpful for the team. The one thing is, the team did kind of have to hold back a little bit just to make this a little bit more interesting for Zeno, because if they eliminated everyone too quickly, well, Zeno might have not been pleased. But he's happy with the result, even if the tournament went way quicker than normal. And as a nice gift from Beerus, Whis revived Pikkon, as a thanks for participating in the tournament. Honestly, he didn't even really need to be revived, but he appreciates the gesture. He's going to continue training with the Kais anyways, but he'll probably be visiting Earth from time to time. Although he's mainly going to live with Shin and Kibito. Following the tournament, there's no Broly movie. Broly's already here, with he and Vegeta being training buddies. Although now they're really kicking into high gear because Vegeta sees that Goku's got Ultra Instinct. So he's got to figure out some way to surpass him, and Broly's surprisingly motivated to do the same as well. Although it will be tougher for him, but the results will probably be more significant, at least compared to Vegeta. After that, we'd have the Moro arc. Maris arrives on Earth, and there's no big misunderstanding this time. He's purposely seeking out someone else. He's heard of two magicians here on this planet, or at least one of them that permanently lives here. He seeks out Tenshinhan, wondering if he could help. Apparently he's a pretty strong human, and he has access to magic. He'd be the perfect match for Moro, and hopefully they could stop him for good. Once it's explained to him who Moro is, he says he's glad to help, and they actually have a few people come along with them. Ten tries to make a team that's perfect for taking Moro down. The team includes Krillin, Pikkon, and Vegeta, and he has a pretty good reason for choosing those guys. Maris doesn't question it, hoping that his judgment is good. They head out into space, with Ten wondering where Moro's heading. He could teleport right onto his ship, but that could be risky if Moro decides to blow up the ship or something. They can't fight on there. But before they even get out into space, they realize Moro's headed right in their direction. He knows the Dragon Balls are on Earth, And that's where he's going because that's the rumors he's heard from the Frieza Force members in the prison. And even if the Dragon Balls aren't here, he knows this planet is strong. It'll make a great snack. So they wait on Earth, ready for Moro to land. And right away, they realize he's not going to be too big of a challenge. He does seem strong magically at least. But there's a reason this team is perfect. Krillin's the one to go up to fight him. And surprisingly for Moro, he can't take any energy from Krillin. He's an android after all. Of course, he does have normal ki still, but he has no need to use that in this battle. He just relies on his artificial energy, allowing him to fight with no issue. And Vegeta wants to get back to Beerus' planet, so he's going to try and make this quick. Apparently, this Moro guy could steal energy from people. Vegeta could do the exact same thing, though. Alright, so if Moro can't take energy from Krillin, he'll try to take it from Earth. Nope. Vegeta is able to prevent that, and he's actually able to attack Moro, using Force Spirit Fission to return any energy that Moro's already taken, which isn't really much. Krillin is a good way to hold him off. Vegeta's a good way to nullify his abilities. And as for Ten and Pikkon, their magic can do the same thing, but they're more focused on something else. They're going to seal him away, and make sure the seal lasts forever. With their combined Kai powers and magic, they're able to do so, and Moro is eliminated before he even becomes a threat. And Beerus is amazed, not only at how strong everyone is, but how great that strategy worked. All these different abilities that these Earthlings have. Well, Pikkon and Vegeta aren't Earthlings, but hey, if these two have these abilities, you can only imagine what the other people on Earth have. It's probably these humans that have rubbed off on them. And Vegeta's glad they made that quick, instantly teleporting away and leaving. Not even saying bye. He's still Vegeta after all. Beerus thanks all of them as the Galactic Patrol leaves, with Pikkon going back to the Sacred World of Kais, and Ten deciding he's going to head back there too for a bit. But there is still one more threat looming about. The Granola arc, we're going to say it just doesn't happen. Without Frieza out there, Granola has no reason to make that wish and seek revenge, and the Healers are glad with the control they already have. So nothing really comes of that, and even if something did, it wouldn't involve Earth. But there's one character who hasn't awoken yet. Back in Jiro's lab, there's a section of it that remains intact, and after all these years, a project in there is finally complete. The supercomputer's been working overtime, gathering some amazing data from everyone on Earth, and also figuring out ways to improve this project. This What If is all about optimizing people, which of course is going to affect Cell. So now we're going to optimize him too, make him the most optimal fighter ever. From the get-go, he's born perfect, with all this data from all these great fighters. The supercomputer adjusted him, he's born perfect. Luckily for him too, some of the strong fighters are off Earth. Of course they can come here whenever they want. Vegeta could easily bring Broly and Goku there, and Ten and Pikkon can teleport back if they need. But right now, they don't have the full crew on Earth. Piccolo, Gohan, Yamcha, Chi-Chi, Krillin, Roshi, Chaozu, Goten, and Kami. Those are the fighters Cell's gonna contend with. The second he awakens, he really has no idea of what to do. He needs a way to gather everyone's attention. All he does is simply raise his power. It almost feels like the entire Earth is shaking, and everyone there can immediately sense this, heading over as quickly as possible. They can't believe this power that they're sensing, and the craziest part is, they feel like they could sense other people's powers within it. Almost like it's an amalgamation of all these other powers, their friends included. And of course when they arrive, they're greeted with Cell, standing there in a wasteland. He was made to kill Goku, but at the same time, he's also looking for a good fight. He's surprised that Goku isn't here, but whatever, these guys will be perfect appetizers. No one really has any time to think either. Cell just immediately gets ready for battle. Roshi's the first to jump in, activating Ultra Instinct Doman again. This way, he can act as a distraction, letting everyone else think for him. And Cell's surprised. This is something that he doesn't have data on. He's gained data on some pretty interesting things recently, including the magic of Ten and Pikkon, and Moro for that matter too. Of course, he could steal energy with his tail normally, but now, he actually knows how to do so with magic. And he's tempted to try that, but instead, he just needs to stop Roshi first. He tries to tap into this magic, and is able to paralyze Roshi midair. No matter how good he is at dodging, well, if he's frozen in place, he can't dodge at all. But someone else then jumps in to attack. It's Piccolo, but he looks radically different now. Piccolo wonders how up-to-date Cell's data is, because Cell actually looks surprised to see this form. Piccolo, he's orange. After seeing everyone's performance in the Tournament Power, he decided to finally use the Dragon Balls to try and awaken his strength, accessing this brand new power. And who knows, he might be able to combine it with Kaioken even eventually. But for now, he's confident that this can hold off Cell. And he definitely is very powerful, but we can't undersell how strong the Cell would be here, no pun intended. The rest of the humans get ready to attack. But with Gohan, Goten, and Chi-Chi staying behind, they have something up their sleeves. Well, not Goten, but the other two do. Especially after excluding herself from the Tournament of Power, Chi-Chi has been training a lot. She does train with Goku from time to time, at least when he's on Earth. But when not with him, she mainly trains with Gohan. And the two of them have noticed something very similar. Gohan must have inherited this from both his parents, but more so Chi-Chi. The two are both very prone to anger, and when they get angry, it's almost like they derive power from it. Goten doesn't really seem to be this way, at least as far as they know. But they've been trying to see what they could do with this knowledge, especially because it helps Yamcha in a way. When he gets angry, his power in his alpha form grows significantly. And just like Chi-Chi, Gohan and Goten have felt a little left behind. For Goten, it's more understandable, I mean, he's younger, but Gohan feels like he could be doing a lot more. Although, with all the great knowledge around him, and all these amazing training partners on Earth, including his mother, his teacher Roshi, and Piccolo, the two have tapped into something pretty significant, something that they doubt Cell even has data on. An intense battle rages on with Cell. Even with the immense power of all these other fighters, including the new Orange Piccolo, they're having a tough time. Yamcha can't believe it, after he's powered up his alpha form this much. And Cell tells Yamcha, no matter how fast he is, Cell is probably faster. No matter how strong Piccolo is, Cell is probably stronger. And no matter how agile Roshi is with his technique, well, Cell can overcome that too. He does note though, Krillin got lucky with that infinite energy. That's the one thing Cell wishes he had, but it's not like he's gonna need it anyways. Only a fraction of his power will be necessary here. But while all these fighters try to hold off Cell, they notice a slight power surging nearby. First, Goten jumps in, with a new form that they briefly heard about from Vegeta action, Super Saiyan 3. And this interests Cell. I mean, it's not very powerful in comparison to everyone else, but he's surprised to see a child Saiyan this powerful. And it actually works as a perfect distraction if anything. The overflowing power of everyone else, including Goten now, that means Cell doesn't really notice the other powers surging. It's Gohan and Chi-Chi, collecting as much energy as possible. This new power they access, it takes a little bit of time to activate. They only just recently got it, and it comes from anger after all. And this whole situation's making them pretty mad, especially how Cell is taunting everyone, threatening their friends, and threatening their planet. But it's not like they're gonna try to force themselves to snap or anything. That would be a very bad idea, because they need something pretty significant to do that. So they just have to activate it this way, charging as much power as possible, trying to transform into it once more. And then Cell finally senses it. Two massive energies surge nearby. He looks over. Gohan and Chi-Chi are gone, but there's craters filled with fire where they were once standing. Cell then receives a powerful kick from one side. He braces for it, but as he's launched backwards, someone then lands a direct punch right to his back. It sends Cell flying back to where he came from. And from both sides, two Kamehamehas are launched towards him. He sticks out a hand on each side, trying to eliminate both blasts. And it's tough, but he's able to do so. But this leaves him open for some other attacks. Who are those two that just attacked him right now? No one can even see them because they're moving so quickly. But there's a brief moment where they appear. And Cell is actually kind of terrified at how they look. Just like with Piccolo and with Roshi, these two have a power that he hasn't seen before. His drones didn't get any data on this, because they never really used it in battle. They kept it so under wraps. Gohan and Chi-Chi are both there with an intense blue and red aura. Their hair has grown significantly in size, and it's white. Their eyes are red. And this leaves everyone dumbfounded. They've never seen a form like this before, and it's even crazier to see that Chi-Chi's one of them that has it. Together, Chi-Chi and Gohan are both using the Beast form. Her and Gohan vanish from sight again, moving so quickly that no one could see them. They practice some amazing combo moves, and Goten's there to provide support, even if he isn't nearly as strong as them. It would be better if they had Goku here. The Sun family has some pretty amazing combo moves after all. But surprisingly, just when they're thinking about this, 3 more people arrive on Earth. Broly, Vegeta, and Goku. They sense that there's some trouble going on here, and Whis told them too. So Vegeta teleported everyone here, but it actually looks like they all have it under control. And Goku immediately recognizes, they're doing one of the combo attacks. Without him? No, that doesn't sit right. He needs to jump in on that. The 3 others are glad to see Goku, and tell him they could use a 4th person for this combo move. And Goku sees the 2 of them with white hair. Okay, well, he didn't expect that, but is that Ultra Instinct? No, it can't be. It doesn't feel like it or look like it, besides the hair being white. And Roshi's confused by this comment. What does he mean by white hair Ultra Instinct? Well, Goku says he hasn't been on Earth in a while, so he might as well show them. He powers up, surrounded by the aura of Ultra Instinct, but this time, he has white hair. He's finally completed the power, and he's more than ready to join in with his family. He doesn't know who this threat is, but he's definitely a threat, and he doesn't want to give up opportunity to do this massive combo attack. The 4 members of the Sun family all stand together. Goku looks at Cell and tells him to get ready for the family meteor combo. Goku dashes right towards Cell, while Gohan and Chi-Chi disappear from sight again, with Goten jumping up in the air. Goten launches a massive Kamehameha downwards, and Cell's able to easily block it, but also tries to keep focus on Goku too, who then disappears from sight, appearing behind Cell, unleashing a flurry of kicks and punches. Then Chi-Chi jumps in with an attack, and just like before, she launches him right towards Gohan. Gohan kicks Cell back, and Cell says he's not going to fall for that again. But instead of both launching beams at him, the 2 rush towards him, with Goku also jumping back, and the 3 of them all attacking at once. And Goten descends downwards, joining in as well. He can't believe it. He can't escape this. How is this possible? The 4 of them all run in a circle around Cell, launching attacks seemingly at random, but they're perfectly coordinated. They aren't random at all. Gohan then hits Cell with an uppercut, with Goku also doing the same, a soaring dragon strike. As Cell flies up in the air, the 4 all stand in a circle still. They all hold their hands out in front of them, charging a beam in the middle of the circle. Together, they all shout Kamehameha as they fling their hands upwards, launching that blast up. Before Cell can even try to defend against it, he's eradicated by the attack. With everyone powering down, Goku's glad he came here just in time. I mean, Chi-Chi and Gohan probably could have handled it with everyone else. But he wanted to get involved in that combo attack. They've never really had an opportunity to pull it off, at least in an actual battle like this. But he's surprised to see how the 2 of them have grown, especially Chi-Chi getting a form. That's pretty awesome. And you know, he's been off Earth for a while. I mean, he's come back and forth from time to time, but he hasn't really reflected on how truly strong everyone's grown. There's Ten and that Pikkon guy, training with the Kais. There's all his human friends, growing as strong as this, his 2 sons, his wife. Piccolo has this brand new form too. Goku's really only been keeping up with Vegeta and Broly because he's been mostly with them. But you know, he's glad it's this way. All these great friends, allies, and rivals alongside him. All these strong people surrounding him. It's incredible. And for all he knows, they can all go much further than this. Look at him, only recently getting Ultra Instinct. He doesn't even know his own limits. But everyone here, they're continuously breaking their limits as well. And this fight is one of the many examples of that. All they can do now is just continue to do that. Maybe they can get even more people involved. You know, go on as Videl. Maybe there's other fighters from Goku's past that he can meet again. He has no idea where they're going next, but he knows that they're going to continue breaking their limits. And this is where we'll end off. What'd you guys think about this scenario? It's a little bit different from what I normally do, but I think it had some pretty fun concepts. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it just as much as I did. It was nice giving some different people some shine for once. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys think. As usual, if you like the video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already, especially if you want to see more videos like this, and if you want to help support the channel. Anyways, thank you all for watching, thanks for supporting this scenario, and I'll see you all in my next video.